Hey, what up, man?
What's going on? I feel like I feel like this is weird.
Are we like we're in like 480p right now? If you
Really?
no, it's good enough. You've like gone back to where you started, your roots. You're back home.
Yeah, I'm like in my own room where I recorded all my YouTube videos. It feels like I'm a child again.
Yeah, it does. You don't look like one. You look like some like environmental anarchist smurf or something like that.
Yeah, that's what happens. That's what happens when they grow.
And look at that. Look at your mustache. Oh my goodness. People, you know what? You know what? You know what? Oh my goodness. This guy's twisting his mustache. You know, before we hit that intro, we're going to do a race promo for the FTC race coming up. A big shout out to Tony Schumacher and AJ Schumacher. RC Racing friends, get ready for the ultimate showdown. The FTC 2025 is coming February 21st to the 23rd at the Nitro compound in Maricopa, Arizona. This epic event will feature top drivers like Ryan Mayfield, Spencer Rifkin, Camden Lime, Spencer Heckert, and many more. There will be coverage by Mod, so that ensures you won't miss 1 second of the action. Schedule is Friday, February 21st. Open practice. The 22nd will be open practice plus 3 rounds of qualifying, and Sunday will be finals day. If you want to check it out, get in contact with AJ or Tony Schumacher. Find out all the details, and we will be watching the FTC 2025 race coming up in a few weeks. So big shout out to Tony and AJ, and good luck with their race. All right, Maxie. No more jibber jabbering. Gonna find that intro, and we're gonna get cracking.
Nitro is the glory, but E-Buggy pays the bills. Welcome to the No Name RC podcast. Get ready for some serious bench racing. But be warned, we speak our minds, express our thoughts, and sometimes things can get a little rowdy.
Hate, and he just was influenced by the hate coming from the left, the hate coming from the right.
And let's get back to more club racing and less of this racing.
It's hard not to be arrogant when you're always right.
See what I mean? That's exactly why people call you arrogant, Max.
You may not agree with everything we say, but it's definitely worth a listen.
And our pick, can you stop whatever you're doing?
Join your host, Leslie the Great, with co-hosts and guests as they get together to chat RC.
Hey, after that race that I watched this morning, I have to talk about it.
Here we go. $100 right here, $100 throw. Oh no! I like this.
Yes, indeed. Nitro is the glory, but E-Buggy pays the bills. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode number 307 of the No Name RC podcast. I'm your host, Keenan White, a.k.a. Lefty the Great. And over to my immediate left, back in Smurfville, is Professor Smurf, environmental anarchist Max.
Yeah, I'm back. I was backpacking through Europe. I think you even mentioned it on your recent podcast with Fen, but I was doing notes for this one. I thought you was gonna do it solo, but thanks to you for getting your charger, laptop charger in America.
We're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about that.
Thanks to that, now we can do it together.
Yeah, absolutely. We was going to do this solo. You are at home where this all started, so I do appreciate you. We are recording this on a Saturday morning, and this will probably be released sometime next week. All right, Max. Before we get cracking, we're going to find out, catch up with what you've been doing. Kind of people know what I've been doing, so before we do that, I just have to say a big thank you to all of our NNRC squad around the world. We can't do it without the support of the No Name RC podcast. The socials are increasing. I think we hit 6,500 subs here on YouTube. Let's get to 7,000, hopefully, I don't know, in the next month, 3, 4 months or whatever. and keep on going. 10,000 would be great. It's the goal for this year. So thank you for everybody for the support. If you ain't sharing, keep on sharing. We're putting out a lot of content. We'll drop the video the other day. So we're doing some collaboration with our co-hosts as well. And also a big shout out to the YouTube members and the NNRC patrons for all your support. The extra support definitely helps myself out here at the No Name RC podcast. So we greatly appreciate that. If you wish to become a patron or YouTube member, there are links for that in the written description of this podcast. As you guys know, we have some new sponsors. A big shout out to J Concepts for their support, coming on as a title sponsor in 2025. We greatly appreciate it. Also, a big shout out to our premium sponsors, High Tech RC, Sidewinder Fuels, Latera Racing, Invisible Speed, ML Toys, and Side Piece Racing. And thank you to all of our other sponsors that are Hot Race Tires, Elite RC Productions, RC Project, Mayako, Techno RC, Beach RC, Clinic RC, and RaceCraft USA. A big shout out to our official drivers, David Ronafalk, who's on the mend from getting his appendix removed. I talked to him actually this morning. So he says he'll be ready for EOS. He was supposed to be at ETS, which is actually going on at this moment. Robert Battier, who just signed with Ultimate as well, was talking to Robert as well. Alex Hackberg, I need to message him, see how his new year went. Matty G, Pecco Evening, Una Hutton, and Mason Fuller. So, and real quick, a couple of birthday shout outs. We have a happy birthday today, as of today, January 25th. Camden Line is 40 years old. Wow, I didn't know that. He looks great for 40. Derek RC, Troy Church, Mikey Brown, Scott Large, Mike Sontag, Damon Millabay. The coach, it was his birthday. Happy birthday to Kurt Wenger, Greg McLaughlin, Eric Donald, Joseph Steichlather, Gary Stute, Drayton Staub, Justin Meyerson, Alex Eklund, Dan Shreve, Todd Ramison, lots of birthdays, Greg Smith, Francesco Lobo, Jeremiah Wilson, Jason Snyder, Raw Speed had a great debut with Lutz at the SIC. Greg Root, Buggy Ben, Sean Rusin, good friend of mine. I need to message him and say happy birthday. Robbie Kakala, a good friend of mine, Guy Levine, who I used to do RC with and got me into tunneling and all that stuff. Happy birthday to him. But lots of birthdays. I see my buddy Marlo Bright's birthday is coming up tomorrow. So lots of birthdays going on here, Max. Borak Killick coming up later on today. We're going to talk about Borak Killick here later on in silly season. So good stuff. All right, Max. So before we get on, let's hear a word from our title sponsor. It's been a while since we had a title sponsor. Like, it's been Invisible Sheet for a long time, and we thank them. But now it's J Concepts. Alrighty, and once again, thank you to Jason Rona, Allison Rona at J Concepts. We actually recorded an INS preview podcast show that will be available another week or so with Jason Rona. It was a very interesting geek out on INS coming up. I look forward to being there for the first INS here shortly in 2 weeks' time. All right, Max. So this was scheduled to be our first podcast for the year, but it is not. It's our second because we had the interview with Dakota Fenn that I pulled off her the other day. It was a great interview, a great chat with Fenn. If you want to check it out, it's on YouTube and all podcast apps. I think it was a great chat with him. People kind of know what I've been up to. Busy. Recording, a lot of recording this week for me. I told people last podcast I'm venturing out into another channel, another industry with podcasting and doing some YouTube work with my daughter with Power Wheels stuff. So people have to. It's gonna be an interesting journey. But you have been backpacking around Europe. Have you been like staying in hostels and all that type of stuff? Like a true backpacker?
Well, not really. I mean, we did stay at 3 hostels maybe, but 2 of them we had our own room. So most of the time hotels, 1 Airbnb too, actually. So yeah, not really like backpacking. It was kind of like, well, we was carrying backpacks and we was going to places because I've recently.
Where did you go?
So because I've recently, since a few years ago now, I've kind of made the decision to stop flying for myself. So for holidays or anything, I consciously avoid flying for environmental reasons. So we travel by train everywhere. Um, and obviously, before anyone gets it, I do travel with plane for like work and stuff, and I did to the worlds. But for holidays, I prefer to use other methods. So we went through the Baltics with a bus. So first with the boat to Estonia, and then a whole day with the bus. One night in Latvia, whole day with the train down to Krakow. Sorry, in Lithuania, we stayed in Vilna for a night, and then the whole day we train to Krakow. There we stayed a few days. Went to Auschwitz. I don't know, kind of not a good vibes there in Auschwitz. So not like the nicest place to go to visit for obvious reasons, but sort of it was close, so we figured to go there now. And then from there on, then we went to Bucharest in Romania. We took a night train from Budapest. So it was nice, and like I've never been to, especially like Romania. I never thought I'd go there for any other reason. So it was kind of just like, let's just go there. So yeah,
Really?
yeah.
I used to work with some Romanians, a couple of them, in some of my jobs, like in England and in Abu Dhabi, and it seems like a nice, like I interested in going there. You know, it seems cost effective too. Is it?
Going with train.
Or just Romania itself?
Oh,
like,
Romania. I mean, it was definitely the cheapest or one of the cheapest places to go, but it's kind of it's tough because you are still in a city center. Like it's a huge capital. I think they have like 4 million people in the area, so it's like a big city. And
that's like the population of Finland.
We have 5 million in the whole of Finland, so it's a big city. So I mean, it was cheap. Like, yeah, you could get a meal for a quarter of a price than it was in Finland. So it was cheap for us, but it's not like it's the same if you go to Lithuania or like Poland. Like the Eastern Europe in general is quite poor, or at least the level of
I wouldn't say poor, but cost effective, maybe.
Well, I mean, Romania is the poorest country or second poorest country in the EU. So
so like what? All right, so your money goes a lot farther than that.
Sure, for sure. I mean, we considering we visited from Romania, we went through Bulgaria to Turkey and then back, and then we went through Germany, Czech Republic, and then back home through Sweden. So we pretty much, I'd say we pretty much visited like 7 or 8 countries, like properly visited, and for a whole month. And we didn't spend that much money. I mean, we did spend money, but that was mostly because we was on a holiday, kind of.
What was your favorite country and city that you visited?
It's funny to say this, but by far, I enjoyed Berlin the most. We stayed there for a few nights.
Germany?
Yeah, because it's like I am.
I know what you mean. It's like a hustle and bustle, and like Germany's organized, right?
It's organized. I mean, I do still think it's less organized in Finland because we're like extra organized.
So everywhere is worse than Finland for you, Max.
Yeah, but that's because like Finland is like the peak of like organized infrastructure. But then like the vibe wise, like I much more enjoyed Berlin than I did München or Prague was nice, but it was kind of touristy, I felt. Krakow was the same. And Istanbul was so big that we barely got, like we were there for a week what was it, 6 days, but we
Mhm.
still barely got to figure out half of the city. So
Interesting.
but definitely an eye-opening trip in many ways, because like I've been to Spain and play Germany many times, but I've kind of never, like, we went to Berlin because I never been there properly.
Mhm.
But apart from that, like we wanted to get places. We was supposed to go to Serbia, but then one of their train stations had collapsed that they just built, and they have had canceled like the whole train line there. So we had to skip that one.
Yeah, might want to skip that one. Might want to skip that one. But you're back home now. You're at your dad. No, you're not home. You're up at your parents right now. So you're hanging out with them for a few days. You're back home, I think Monday or Tuesday. Back to school, back to that, back to getting things done on the NNRC. We greatly appreciate that. Maybe we'll see another podcast with you and Will and maybe Ty in the background. As you say, we're moving into 2025 here. This is our second show of the year. We kind of, if you're going on vacation and with me kind of moving and then having to rip out to I keep wanting to call it AMS, to SIC and come back here. It's been a busy time. So we haven't been able, when you said to me, hey, let's record, I'll be home. I said, great, because I didn't really want to do this on my own. I wanted to discuss these things with you because we have silly season. We have a lot of things to cover with that and stuff like that. So I'm very excited for 2025. We're trying to take things to the next level. We always try to improve, you, myself, Will, Ty, David, we've all been brainstorming about things for 2025. We really appreciate the new sponsors, advertisers that have come in, but we've got tiers and campaigns for all types of shows. We can do short-term campaigns, which is, we got a couple spots left in our long-term yearly advertising tiers, maybe 2, maybe 3, and then we have only short-term campaigns available, which is beneficiary as well. We're stepping out into some new territory with the INS type of shows based on them, just recap shows. It's something we've talked about quite a lot over the years, and now we get to kind of put it into effect. I'm sure at some point you will be on one of 2 of those shows with me when we do them. We do have the preview show dropping, and maybe we'll be doing some more future shows like that as well. So we see Will, he dropped his vlog, which was great. We want to grow his channel as well. So we're trying to encourage him to post here on the NNRC, and then hopefully we can build up his channel over there as well. So lots of good things going on, lots of retro content. Obviously, I'm doing 2 things now with 2 different podcasts and 2 different genres in the Power Wheels industry, which that drops next month. So busy times, as well as spending time with my family, my travel. So busy. 2025 is already starting out to be a very busy year, but we're kind of on it. We're having fun. Things are good. I'm hoping that you and I are at least at the Nitro European Championships and the E-Buggy World Championships in the summertime to do some NNRC coverage, as well as I'll be working probably with the stream. So lots of good things, lots of positive things going on for 2025. 2024 was a great year. Thank you to everybody that made that possible. And thank you to you, Max, and everybody behind the scenes that makes this happen, and your notes and all that stuff, because it's really valuable. All right.
Also, I want to say before we go
all right.
forwards, because you was talking about advertising, that this year we're trying to put more effort into race advertising. We did some of that last year. I mean, even this podcast, we already have one race advertising, but that's one thing that I think there are a lot of these races who aspire to be big races, and if you are interested in advertising on the podcast, and that means like we will pay proper attention, because right now it's kind of like, if I have time and if I have like a good shot at like sharing stuff from a race, it's down to luck, pretty much. But I wish that in the future races could advertise in a show more effectively, and I think the pricing is very fair. So if you're interested, shoot us a message, and because we share this plan, but there's so many races that we most likely haven't shared it to all.
Yeah, we have. If you're interested in advertising her and supporting the podcast, I think this is a great platform. Shoot us a message. We'll send you out our documents, and we'll work something out with you. All right, topics of this podcast are going to be high-tech news. We're going to dabble into silly season and some of the moves. We're going to take a pretty much in-depth look at the Southern Indoor Championships, and we will look at a little bit at the Clash of Champions because it was such an important race. We did kind of go over the Clash quite a bit on INS, which will be coming out here shortly because it's 10 scale related. But mostly the focus will be on the Southern Indoor Championships, which was held January 10th to 12th in Otagoville, Alabama. Some of our pre-race talking points was a lot of drivers showing up with their new rides, absolutely. And our first big American 1/8 scale race of the year. They did have a race in Padova, I believe, but I don't think a whole bunch of people went. They always had that race in Italy, that one-man race. All right, Max, I think we should just get right into it. Our news is brought to you by High Tech RC. Big shout out to High Tech RC for all their support over the last few years. There's some talks about me probably getting out to Knoll in the fall, and maybe we'll see how that goes. A big fly-in, something different. A big shout out to Mike Mayberry, Suze, and everybody there at High Tech, dropping new servers and new chargers all the time. You can go buy directly from High Tech now. We have links for that in the written description. Just go to hightechrcd.com, I believe the website is, and you can buy directly from them. Let them know you heard about that, their website, and purchase some High Tech products because of the No Name RC podcast. All right, Max. So we've had some late silly season moves. We kind of have in-depth looked at Fenn's move to X-Ray. We talked about it, but we haven't talked about it since it happened. I did make a video about it, which I think covered a lot of some of your thoughts as well, because we kind of collaborated on the notes and facts. But we'll talk about Fenn a little bit more when we get into the SIC recap. But we did have a few late season moves. We had Coelho too. We kind of have to touch on Coelho. We have to touch on Coelho and his move to Infinity, and if he's going to run a lot of off-road really quickly. But let's start off with Burak Kilik going to Nova Engines. This surprised me. I saw that they had left Ninja, and I thought automatically that they were going to go to Drake, and I asked Drake at SIC, because no, they've been running my engines. I don't know where they're going. So Burak to Nova, and I assume that Barkan will be going at the same time. So Nova overcoming some QC issues, Max trying to get his laptop organized and leveled out. Nova overcoming some QC issues and some drivers issues as well. I saw them at the AMS last year. They were there. They still have Cavalari running Nova and a couple other drivers, but I'm assuming that Burak and Barkan, or Burak at least, is getting a paycheck for this, because I mean that's the only reason I can see him leaving Ninja or OS to go to Nova. I'm not saying this is a bad decision, but with a company developing engines like this, we saw Wiggins have them. He had to kind of leave. We saw Lee Setzer running them. He left because he just, it's hard to beat that reliability of a OS. And now most of these OSs, and a lot of these OSs, you can get 10 minutes out of. So I don't know my thoughts on Burak to Nova. I understand why, and I'm sure Nova's going to give him the best product that they can. But when you're developing stuff like this, comes frustration with DNFs, failures, and whatnot.
Yeah, I don't know. My initial reaction when Nova came back was that they are going to take what Nova Rossi had, which is good mileage, great drivability. Well, okay, decent drivability, in my opinion, better than OS. But bad reliability. And then they're going to increase the reliability of the engines. This beginning seems to have been very rough for them. The beginning, like you said, quality control issues. The first engines were shipped, and they hadn't even machined the heat sink of the engine. So when it sits on top of the, I don't know what you now call it, but on top of the case, so like it wouldn't seal. Well, it would seal properly, but it wouldn't like actually work as a heat sink as well. And then all kinds of weird internal like machining errors that weren't caught out. I have heard that all of those, or at least majority of those, have been fixed since. Um, I have heard people like the engines, so I don't think it's an issue of that. Do they really work? I think they do, and there are a lot of on-road guys who run their engines when they're really successful with them. Um, so it's definitely not that they don't know how to make engines. I feel like what happened with the Americans was that they didn't have the factory support, but they just got sent engines, and that was that. And for example, Wiggins, I don't know what happened with Nova, but I do know for a fact that he was running an OS halfway through the season. Uh, like no announcement, no nothing. He's leaving Nova. He was just running an OS with a blank head on the engine. Setzer, I have to say I don't know about his case, but Wiggins was the very notable one of jump on a Nova train and then flame out every single race, and then midway through the year he just switched to an OS. But on the European side, I haven't heard any of those who've been running Novas. I haven't heard them having issues. For example, Josemi Sanchez, who made the Euros A main, he did well at the Worlds. He was running Nova, as far as I know. And then Cavalieri, sure, he had issues, but I think most of his issues weren't engine related. And he finished, fifth at the Nationals and so on. So it's not like he had a terrible time. And I think it's just down to that Cavalieri runs what he runs and he knows how to make it run for the main. And if he finishes fifth, then that's it. But, I think guys like Wiggins and Setzer are a bit more picky about their stuff. And I don't want to say that they don't know how to tune an engine because, I don't really know how they are with engines, but I know for a fact that Cavalieri will take anything he has and, do what he needs with it. So yeah,
I can't argue with those points. I can't argue with those points.
So okay, I didn't even comment on Burak actually. Now that I think, but what I was trying to say here is that I don't think it's a bad move. I think it's a decent move, and I'm pretty sure that he's gonna be fine with the Novas.
But now that Burak is approaching a career as a professional driver, I would think that.
Oh yeah, Ninja didn't pay him anything.
Right? No, obviously.
Though he got the engines for free, and that's
in brand with Mugen. In brand with Mugen.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, dude, cannot argue with those points. We'll see. Time will tell. I assume Barkan will be in, or maybe he'll run the Ninjas. Who knows? Mm-hmm. But they kind of run. They run exactly what they run. Like he left Hot Race to go to SACMIX. So I doubt that they'll be different.
I think Barkan will run Nova if they feel like Nova is better, and then he will run Ninja if they feel like Nova is not the easiest engine to have. Because at the end of the day, the only reason Burak switched engines was that he could get paid. That everyone would say that, and that's obvious. Like he wouldn't go to Nova unless he got paid.
I understand it.
But it doesn't mean that he only went there to get paid. He could have gone probably to other brands, but he probably had tested the motors before or engines before that.
Yeah, I would hope he did. Ronafalk leaves Fly Sky, joins Sanma. So I was talking to Ronafalk a few weeks ago, maybe end of the year, and he was like, I'm going through all my program to see what's where his law. Like he's 28. He's searching. We're talking about one of the best in the world who has kind of been in a slump for the last year and a half. X-Ray's been more or less, hit and miss. He's had some good performances. He's made finals and all that type of stuff. It's probably one of his best performances of X-Ray might have been the DNC second. I think it was.
Yeah, Worlds wasn't bad.
This is a man. No, Worlds wasn't bad, but this is a man who's used to winning races, right?
Yeah.
So I think he's not blaming the Fly Sky or anything. I think he's just going. He said, "I'm going back to what I know, and see what happens." So he's just trying to find and patch those I don't want to call them holes, but just as areas where he thinks he needs that edge where he needs to get back to what he likes. Because if I know Ron Falcon, he's he likes certain things and he's accustomed to certain things. So maybe there's something in the Sanwa engine Sanwa radio that appeals to him, because I know they had this kind of issue before. Like I think when he switched to the M17 and he's using the M12 and he kept on I can't remember the story exactly how it went, but I think he's very radio sensitive and he's just, I get it. Like he's trying to get back on top, and to get back on top, you got to check out everything. You got to look at all possibilities. So yeah, I mean, yes, he loses probably a paycheck. He probably doesn't get paid by Sanwa. He probably gets product. Maybe he gets some contingency, but I doubt it. But Fly Sky has a plethora of drivers and probably one of the most popular radios you see at the track right now. So, yes, sucks, but I get it. Yep. Anything to say about that before we move on, Maxi?
No, not really. I mean, the big thing with David, like you said, is that he's very particular with his equipment. And I feel like he's, I mean, sort of benefit in some scenarios, and something that might hurt him in others is that usually when things go bad, he starts to first look at his equipment. But I mean, at the end, like that being said, he is very talented and he knows what he's capable of, and he's very confident of what he's capable of. So sure, like it's not bad to do that when you know that, but does it actually make a difference for him? I highly doubt it. But if it gives him that extra bit of security, then sure, go for it. I think he's made a few of the worst mistakes of his career in the past 2 years now. Be it tire brands or whatever that he's been going through. So I think it is good to have sort of a step that check that, okay, at least my equipment is good. And I think he's realized that as well, that, he's made mistakes and now he wants to optimize what he can to prove himself result-wise as well. Because when was the last time he had like an actually big win? I think that's the Euros with Mayako. I can't remember him of having any other big win since then, because like even the last year he was with Mayako. Yeah, I think even the last year he was with Mayako, I can't remember him winning anything big. Even Swedish nationals, he ended up breaking something, and so yeah, I think like he's at the point that if he keeps on this track, he's not going to be pro for long, and he has the talent to be. So I think he's checking or turning over all the rock. So how do you say it?
Sometimes you just got to go back to basics. Sometimes you just got to go back to basics to get to where you want to go. I have no doubt. May he heal up fast. ETS next week, I think, for him. No, EOS at dawn. Yes. All right. So Jonah, some people got this the other day. Sparkle fish. Some people got it.
Yeah.
Some people did it. I was shocked at this, to be honest. Jonah, we're going to change his name to the Cuda. Wilson, Cuda fish, leaves AE, joins Sparkle. This surprised me, and I don't get surprised much, but this surprised me. I know Sparko has been really actively trying to get some drivers. I know they actively pursued Brandon Rose. They got Cole. I'm sure they have pursued some other drivers. Wilson was at SIC. I have to say this, that the team associated pits, where they didn't have Saxton, didn't have Rivkin, didn't have Thelke, didn't have none of those guys there at that weekend. It was just like Lee, Brandon Rose, Jonah Wilson, Paul Wynn was there, but it wasn't really that much of a support system like we'll see at other races. Jonah Wilson did not have a very good SIC, and I guess I assume that he's getting some travel and some pay from Sparko. He has to be. I'm not sure what he was getting at AE. I have an idea what Brandon Rose, who went to AE, is getting. He's getting some money and travel. So, I think this is a great move for Sparko, because it seems to be a brand that is growing or staying steady in the southeast, northeast area. I don't know how it is outside of that area. I know like the team manager, John Blaze, he's busy. He's going to all these races. So, I get this. I don't think the Sparco Cavalieri thing worked out because you need to have a presence on the West Coast as well. But on the East Coast and East, Southeast, Northeast Coast, this is a good move for them. So it's going to be interesting to see what the Fish can do. Big move for him. Being associated for quite a long time, see some success. I mean, I think this would have been a great sign-in for Mayako, to be honest, if they could have signed him too. But I'm assuming that I'm assuming that he gets some travel and some money, which he probably needs to get to that next level. Will he? But he's gonna not have that AE support. That's where it's gonna be lacking.
Yeah, well, I kind of when I saw him.
Hold on for a second. And I don't mean that in a bad way to Sparko, but Sparko is still very young in its infancy to getting to that. Whereas AE is established and has a plethora of knowledge and all that type of stuff.
Yeah, so from my point of view, when I first saw this and knowing how, like, for some reason, how much Joseph loves the Fish, I was thinking that, since all of the sort of the moves with Rose and Fend and whatever went south with Mayako, that this was one of the guys that he would want on the team, even though they weren't a top pro. Because he's very particular, and after all, if he wanted someone on the team, he would persuade Mayako to take them on the team. So I was like, okay, like, why would Jonah leave for anything else than something like that? But then Sparko, I think it's kind of similar situation, but different people. So some brand who sort of takes the early bet on him, because the thing is, he's not at that level as Brandon Rose is. He has not yet earned to be a pro. Like, he hasn't earned a full-time paycheck, but he could earn it this year.
He's probably at where Brandon Rose was about 3 years ago.
I don't think even that low. I think
before he joined S-Works.
Yeah.
Because that's when I think Brandon Rose really blossomed when he joined S-Works.
Yeah.
But it was kind of reverse. He was on Nemo. He was doing good at Nemo. He was doing good at Serpent. Then he went to Agamo for many years. He was doing good there. And then he went to the bigger brand, and he blossomed. Whereas Wilson's doing it kind of reverse. He was at the big brand. Now he's going to the smaller brand.
Yeah, sure. But the thing is that either way, I mean, if it could be possible that if Jonah was running Sparko, AE would have picked him up this year or something. But I think AE is a bit more conservative with their team picks, whereas S-Works was one of those brands who they took a lot of drivers, like even Canas when he joined S-Works. He was fast for sure. He had won races and so on, but they took him on as a full-time pro, like very straight on. And it was like from the get-go, he was there. And that's kind of been their strategy, to invest a lot in drivers that could become great. And like Rose was a great example of that. And now they have a SIC win with him and a bunch of great podiums across America with Rose. Sure, he's gone now, but they have a bunch of other guys. In Jonah's case, I don't know if this is a great move for him, in a sense that is he mature enough of a driver and person who sets up his things and so on, that he can pretty much alone make Sparko good for him. Because that's kind of the thing with a lot of these guys, is if you are not knowledgeable in setup, or especially if you don't know what you want, like this is the point where your career kind of gets killed, that you get stuck on something that you can't get the support with, and then you're there, you can't get forward. I don't know Jonah's background, if he's able to do that, or if he has enough people around him that allow him to get the car good. But that's sort of the risk with this. That's why I thought Mayako would be the obvious fit, because of, Joseph, what he said before, and then, the situation Jonah was in. But I do see that if he has a plan in mind, this could also be just as good for him as Mayako.
Yeah, time will tell.
Yeah.
I mean, Sparko's hurt. I thought they faded for a little bit, but they were out this race. Tyler Jones was there. I mean, he did not have a very spectacular SIC, but they were there, and that to be in the race, you got to be there. And so it will be interesting to see how things work out with Sparko, with Tyler Jones, with Cole Ogden, and the guys that they have. They have young Aiden Ridgway, who's very fast, up and coming Southeast racer now running them. He's very fast. So we'll see how it all works out. Sparko is giving out some good deals to people. So they're going to get some people. So we'll see how it works out for the fish.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
so
I want to also say
go ahead.
that
Sorry.
when last year, I remember when they signed Cavalieri, and then they signed Jones. So they had
Jones was before Cavalieri.
Yeah, but they had like a team, because they had Pavidis, they had Cavalieri, they had Jones.
Venus, yeah.
Those three they had. I don't think they were paying anything for Pavidis. I don't know. Jones, I don't know either, but at least he was getting something from them. Maybe it was travel, maybe it was like part travel or whatever. But now they have like Jonah and Ogden and Jones. So I feel like this is the first time that they have like something to build up from. Sure, maybe they're not going to become an established brand, but if things go right with Jonah, for example, they have a lot of potential, and he has already proven that.
That's a good driver.
Yeah. So I think even though they're in a better situation now than they were a year ago, even though it seems like the sparkle has died,
Yeah. They're in a good position. I mean, I don't know how much Cole's going to race, or Tyler Jones, but Jonah Wilson will race, right? Yeah. So it's going to be interesting.
Oh, and also,
all right.
I don't know if we have this, because I don't think we had this in the notes, but now that we're talking about Sparko, Noah Ben Mohammed joined Sparko in Europe.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that, because he's running Schumacher now.
Yeah, so he moved from X-Ray to Schumacher in 10 scale, and then now in 8 scale he joined Sparko. So I mean, I don't know what to say about that. Like, can he do anything special? But he's going to be one that people are going to look out for, because he's like, for example, the E-Buggy Euros, was it a year ago, 2 years ago? He was there.
Last year.
Yeah, he was there, right there with the others. And Montpellier, for example, like making a main at Montpellier would be great for Sparko. So like, and that's like now actually somewhat possible with the Noah Ben Mohammed. So yeah, good move.
You know who else we didn't talk about? Remember we thought that the younger Parente was going to Kyosho. Apparently, he's going to HB now. That's what I was told. So the Danielle will be Techno, Adrian is HB. Who would have thunk it?
Yeah, I think that was a wild move. Like, Kyosho seemed wild, but it made sense. But HB just seems wild, and to me doesn't even make sense. Like, why would you go HB? Like, especially if they split. Like, yeah, if he went back to S-Works, or if he went to Mugen, or like a car that they know can win and is winning, well, they go to HB for him. Like, did they go through all of the cars and was like, this one's the best, or like?
I don't know, dude. I don't know. Maybe HB's paying. Who knows?
Who knows? I mean, possible.
I don't know.
Maybe they're doing the same thing.
Mark Sousa was.
Maybe they're doing the same.
Mark
thing
Sousa was at SIC.
Yeah. So
I mean, he hasn't raced in quite a while, and he said to me, that he's going to I think a lot of these. He said he might go to California for a month to just test. So I guess some budget is there for guys to do things. So who knows?
I mean, it could be actually like from HB standpoint. Maybe the younger brother was like, I hate the car, wanted to change, and then Techno are interested in both of them, so they try to get the older one through the younger one. Who knows what the thing
Maybe
is?
not enough budget for both of them. Maybe just not enough budget for both of them. Who knows?
Maybe.
All right. Let's move on. This is not confirmed yet, but we saw pictures of this. We should have probably had this up. The pictures of Invisible. Was it in Mayako? Or was it Invisible Speed? Put a picture up with a Cavalieri paint job on a Mayako.
Mayako, yeah, they put up a picture of the new. I think it was limited edition Nitro buggy. It was like the car that are actually. I think you can order them now. I don't know if it's still pre-order or if it's ordered. It should be ordering because they're gonna send them out before Chinese New Year. So, but they put up a picture of the new car on the Mayako site. And yeah, it was Cav. I mean, it was Cav's car. It had Nova engine. It had his paint job, and I have seen a video of him running a Mayako at Revelation. It looked good, but yeah. I mean, I think we can say it's confirmed. Yeah.
There we go. So, so apparently the rumor is, this isn't confirmed, that basically Cav is going to be running a Mayako via Invisible Speed. And then, of course, he just made the announcement that he's going to be running probably associated 10 scale cars via 1UP. So one of my favorite drivers of all time lives to race one more time. The question will be, how long are you going to hang on to his nuts right now? Because you have talked the utmost shit about Cav for the last year and how unimpressed you are by him. And now he's driving Mayako. So you got to talk good about him now.
Well, that thanks to us being by nature the truth talking podcast, I don't have to say anything. So I can diss him still as much as I can. And I do. I mean, I do.
Gets me at it.
Yeah, but I mean, Joseph won't get. I have never heard Joseph get mad at if someone tells the truth. He will get mad at the truth, but like, he won't get mad at.
So I did talk to JQ about this, and he said Cav still knows how to drive. We know that he does still know how to drive. Yeah. Is he up to pace with a lot of these young guys? Probably not. He still has he's like 38, I think, and he still has, I guess, some gas in the tank. But I mean, you'll see. I mean, if this is true, I'm pretty sure it is true. I don't want people getting, as of now, it's unconfirmed. But let's say this does happen. I think this is it for Cav, man. I think this has got to work, right? We say this every time he goes to a different brand.
Yeah.
But
I think it is.
I don't. What would be called a journeyman? What would be his like? Like in boxing, like they have that guy. I think it's called a journeyman. Like he just is like a tough guy to fight, and he could sometimes win on a good night, and he'll lose. But if he loses, he's going to give you a good fight. And he just goes around fucking boxing people. Well, that's kind of like what Cav is right now. He's like a journeyman.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing though, I think this time it is very different than it was before. Because before it was like he went to a brand that was kind of either like lost altogether, like WRC, or then trying to establish themselves and trying to get them hands on to at least some pro like Sparko. And then, I mean, even before that, he was with Yokomo and S-Works, which was kind of like a weird combo to put together.
They weren't S-Works what it was now. It was different.
It was different back then. So it was a weird run for Cavalieri since he left AE. Was there even some other brand in between there? Yeah, Schumacher.
No, he went Spark. So he went S-Works, after. So this is how I'll break down the timetable. JQ really wanted to sign Cav for JQ Race in 2018, and I was involved in that, and I thought it was going to happen.
Yeah.
I was so excited about it. But that was 2018 Cav leaving fucking Associated,
Yeah.
prime of his career in 8 scale. He goes to SWARX, does 2 years at SWARX, starts winning in the second year.
Yeah.
Right? Has a horrible time at Yokomo. I think he leaves Yokomo halfway after 1 year.
He left after the Worlds in 2019, yeah.
And then he goes to TLR. And he I think he does a year, maybe 2 at TLR, maybe
2 years.
So let's see. That's
21 and
2020. Right. He starts doing well for TLR at the end. Of course, TLR cuts and he's out. Then he goes to WRC and he's running Schumacher. Maybe a little bit more focused on 10 scale, but he does get a 5th when he changes over to, he leaves Raw Speed Tires, goes to TZO, goes to Wicked Weekend 2023, gets a 5th. Then he's on Sparco for 2024. I think he does 1 year of Sparco. And he's just out there kind of with no support over there, which he's used to. And he gets a 5th at the Nationals, but, you know, a blind squirrel finds a nut twice a day. You know what? How's a broken clock is twice a blind squirrel, even a blind squirrel can find a nut once a day. Or a broken clock is at least is right at least twice a day. It's going to be interesting to see how this dynamic goes between JQ and Cavallari.
Yeah.
Like we've known, Cavallari's had some epic outbursts. I think he's gotten a lot better with that over the years. But could you imagine him having an epic outburst with JQ on the mic? It's going to be epic. But
Yeah,
I think JQ can. I think JQ and Mayako can give him a car that works for him.
Yeah, well, this is why I think it's different, because he's not signed. I know for a fact he's not signed to Mayako. I don't think Mayako is going to pay him any money at any point. I don't know for sure, but I know he's not in the Mayako Discord. There's no announcement through Mayako whatsoever. And from what I have heard, he is active on the Indivisible Speed Discord. So this is 100% through Indivisible Speed, 100% JQ spending his company's money on getting Cavallari. So it's not necessarily that he got Cav to run Mayako or work for Mayako. He does not work for Mayako. He works for Indivisible Speed. And Indivisible Speed offers him a car, which is a Mayako. Same way as, he's not running for Associated. He's running for 1UP, but 1UP buys him an Associated. Exactly the same dynamic. It's just that, JQ is much more involved with Mayako than 1UP is with Associated. But, no money is being transferred there from my understanding. At least to what I know now, that is the case, and he's not in any way affiliated with Mayako. But obviously he runs the car. So why I think it's different than before is the fact that now he has something to actually do for. So when he was running Schumacher, sure, he was making mains, but you could hire Ben and Schimmel and he would do the same thing. You don't have to get the Cavallari. And that's kind of like the issue, that you can't sell cars with 7th places. But if you finish 7th and then you tell a good story through one of the greatest drivers all time for Invisible Speed, or you finish 7th and you are Ryan Cavallari, the 4-time world champion, and you have great looking 1UP turnbuckles and oils and whatever, yeah, you can sell that, because that they are selling coolness. They are selling, like hop ups, and JQ is selling, skill through Invisible Speed. Because like Ryan is not going to give setup advice. He's going to give driving advice. And that is the dynamic here. He's not there to produce results necessarily for either of those brands. He's there to produce a face that is a 4-time world champion, And yeah, I don't know if it's gonna how is Ryan gonna be able to adjust to that? I do think he has some results in him, but that's gonna need a big change in his life. He's gonna have to start actually practicing again, not just showing up at Revelation once in a while and doing a few afternoons there. He's gonna actually start putting in the work like Mayfield does and geeking out over RC. Which I doubt will still happen, and I doubt we will see anything different from him. But I do think his sort of appearance will be more organized, and he will be able to better showcase like himself, be it on the track or at the race or in social media, whatever. But yeah, it's first time where he's hired to a brand, not just to get results, you know. So I think that is the
It's going to be interesting. So look, Cav has pedigree, right? He's one of the best drivers ever. You know, he has that. It's unfortunate that he hasn't, I would say, been, obviously, okay, for instance, Mayfield had J Concepts and kind of built his career and still going very strong. You know, he has kind of something to fall back on J Concepts, and he's out there doing well. Tebow, kind of the same. Formed JTP, formed his brand, all that type of stuff. While Cav might have had great results, better results than these guys in the beginning. Okay, Tebow and him had some world championships, but Cav obviously went on that speed that time, and he's a 4-time world champion, 4-time Reedy race, 31-time national champion. He's won Neo race. He's won pretty much every race out there that's out there. He had that early success, but as these racers got faster and all that stuff, he kind of didn't adapt. He's still not able to, when you watch him run, he can drive. He can beat the bricks, wheels off anybody else out there, like any average person. But keeping up with these young guys and what they're able to do with those cars, he's not able to do that, I think. He's not able to scrub it and do it on will and all that type of stuff. He's still got his old school driving style. And these young guys out there just fucking aggressive. Like, they're fucking, like the Killix, they're slamming those cars into the face of those jumps. Like my buddy Lucas says, he goes, Killick drives the car like it stole something from him, like the way he beats on it. But that's just how hard they drive, and he isn't able to do that. And Mayfield and them guys are getting to that point. Mayfield, Tebow, those guys are getting to the point where they're not in that evolution. They can still drive. Don't get me wrong, but they're not able to do what those guys are able to do. So I think, like I was talking to Salty Joe about this. I said, look, if this happens and Cav goes to DNC and he makes the A final, I think that's a great result. Anything better than that, top 10, it's good. So I think if this happens, which sounds like it's going to happen, or pretty much know it's going to happen, that it's a good move. It's the last move. It's sure it's the last move for Cav. I think it is. And I hope it works out. I hope it works out for JQ. I hope it works out for Cav, Mayako, because also it's not like JQ has not worked with Cav before. He has worked with him. So they kind of understand how each other or, how things are working. But we shall see. We shall see how it all works out. And maybe Mayako, in the meantime, like I had a chat with JQ, they work on getting their truggies out. And, the truggy and e-truggy is a big thing they need to get out. And they work on getting their full fleet of cars out. And, maybe in 2026, start pursuing some other avenues. I do still think that Jonah Wilson would have been a great signing for Mayako. And I actually think JQ goes, where did Wilson go? What's Wilson doing? And I said, I don't know. And then next day, Spark, like I kind of heard through the grapevine that it's Sparko. So good missed opportunity, because I think Mayako could have would have been good with Jonah Wilson. All right, Max, we're going to move on to a couple of things. We've extensively talked about Fend. Let's have a quick chat about the other big move, Coelho to Infinity. Your thoughts on it really quick. I kind of made a whole video about it. I just want to get your thoughts. Mainly, do you think he's going to drive off-road again?
Probably yes. But only for the Euros and the E-Buggy Worlds, because of the fact that they are in Portugal. Then Is he gonna go to America to drive 8-scale off-road worlds next year? Probably not.
I would think he would want to, because the rumor is that's going to be Thornhill, and that would be a great track for him.
Yeah, I think when it's announced that it's Thornhill, maybe, but like I think that's sort of a thing that he's gonna think about later. To be honest, like I think this year he will run 8-scale off-road, but only because there are two big races in Portugal, which is the Euros and the
Okay.
E-Buggy Worlds.
Both at the same type of track that he's good at.
Yeah, he's good there. He's did he finish second or third in 2022 when David won? So he's good there. Now the touring car platform is the one that I'm the most interested in. So we already have a few spy shots thanks to Kentech. To be honest, I mean I could have probably got them up here and showed you guys, but you can't really. It looks like a touring car. There's nothing special about it. Looks like pretty much like a Schumacher. Shocks similar to that. Not like an X-ray. Clearly they did not like something about the X-ray. I'm assuming it's the front shock angle. They wanted it outer on the arm. But that's just a guess. Most of it look very similar. The first race of the year, TITC, happening. I don't know if it's actually even this weekend or a few weeks after this, or when it is. But Naoto and Coelho are both going there with the new Infinity car. So that will be exciting. I think that is the biggest excitement of this. Not necessarily that Bruno went to Infinity, but that Infinity is developing an on-road car. And now we're gonna, because okay, obviously I have sort of my own fight here because Naoto is gonna be running on-road again. But I do think that's something that is going to be really interesting. In Nitro on road, like, to be honest, I couldn't care less. I
Really?
no,
I'm uber excited to watch him run 8-scale on-road.
but
I'm uber
but
excited.
against who?
Against fucking Balastri and all those guys.
Balestri and Naoto, which is like both of them have like a 50% finish rate.
They're world champions though.
Yeah, but I mean,
I see him race them. So you think
sure.
Bruno's just gonna wipe the floor with him?
No, he's not. But it's like, I think on-road racing, sure, 1/8 GP is better, but if you follow the 1/10 off-road worlds this time or any of the past 10 times, it's like the top 5 always breaks or retires early. So who wins is a total like toss of the coin most of the time. The GP is more interesting, but at the end of the day, it's like one of the Infinity guys are going to win, and there really isn't. I don't want to say that there isn't high competition because these are talented guys, but it's different than 8-scale. It's not like it's a team against team and there's all this kind of preparation and whatsoever. It's kind of like we put a group of guys out there on the track for an hour and let's see who actually makes it to the end. That's kind of the vibe I'm getting from Infinity in on-road. And that's why also I feel like the touring side is more interesting because they're actually going against established brands. Everyone's building their own car. And yeah, I find that much more interesting. 8-scale off-road, unfortunately, I don't feel like they're gonna care much about. They're gonna race races that are.
I think the effort into 8. Yeah, I don't see much effort into their 8-scale off-road program.
Yeah, I think they're gonna attend the worlds. I think they're gonna attend the worlds, especially now that they are gonna be near Thornhill, and they're gonna attend every race where, like, it's in Portugal or Spain or something where it's easy to go for Bruno. I don't think Naoto is like extremely interested in traveling over to any big race for 8 scale off road. But from previous, signs, he has been sent out to the world. So, like, I guess Bruno would be too then.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I can't disagree with all of that. We'll talk more about the worlds in our Latara Racing Vibes of the Week at the end of this podcast. So yeah. All right. I think that's it right now for silly season talk. I didn't have any other news. I'm sure we missed something.
Yeah, well,
But we have plenty of time to keep on
I
crazy
w-
stuff at some point.
Yeah, I went quickly through like recent news, and there really isn't much. Like, I didn't even know that Polito left Guimar. I went to check, and he apparently ran. He tried Intech engines beginning of last year. Something went wrong. He switched to OS, and now he's back with Guimar, which he ran for most of.
Yeah, because remember at the Worlds, they're like, no Guimar, no Guimar. Remember at the Worlds, they were very adamant about no Guimar, no Guimar, no Guimar. What a quick switch around that was, hey?
Yeah,
Weird,
I don't know.
That's just how it goes.
For some reason, last year they switched to something else, and now they're back with Guimar. So I don't really know what that is. Also, Jorn Neumann leaves Nova and switches to Reds. So that is interesting. I don't know if it's because of Reds and like pretty much all of the S-Works guys running Reds at this point, or why, but that's the switch he made.
All right.
Yeah. Other than that, I don't really see anything. Carob joins Hobby Wing, but I mean, that's all I find from like a quick scroll through Facebook.
Okay.
Through Red RC.
All right. Well, we're gonna move on. Right. We're gonna move on to the side piece racing past races. We're just going to go through these quickly, give you some results. Elevate your RC experience with sidepiece-racing.com, North America's exclusive distributor of top tier brands like Awesomatics, Roach, Wild, Turbofans, Montec Racing, Corsatec, Phoenix Racing, and Will Speed. Whether you're seeking precision engineered car kits, high performance batteries, or aerodynamic bodies, we've got you covered. Enjoy fast shipping and exceptional customer service, ensuring that you get the best gear when you need it. Visit www.sidepieceRacing.com today and race ahead of the competition. Thank you to Hefty for all his support. We greatly appreciate it. Clash of Champions, January 2nd to 4th, Who's the RC Hobbyplex. We did kind of go really in-depth in this in the INS race, so we're not going to go too in-depth in this on this race.
Yeah. Can I say my points then?
Go ahead, say your points.
Yeah, I put down these notes because I didn't know if you guys were going to go through it on the INS one. Yeah, but
I will say this: keep your points brief.
Yeah. Okay.
They're normal.
Before the race, everyone was excited for Fend with X-Ray. To be honest, wasn't like it. Kind of felt the only weird thing was the sticker on the side of the body shell. He drove just like before. Results were just like before. Nothing different. Another interesting thing was the hot race tires. Horn with hot race. Who was the one now who's he even TQ'd
Lemieux,
exactly. Lemieux. Yeah. Lemieux with hot race. And yeah. About the results, I was a bit surprised that AE was really good in four-wheel drive but struggled in two-wheel drive. Same with Champlin too. He had the same. Usually he's better in four-wheel drive. And really, to be honest, the only thing, well, there's another thing, but the only big thing why I wanted to talk about this was that, Keenan, you keep saying Schimmel should go down to stock. And I'm saying this to you guys. This guy made the world's A main in two-wheel drive. This guy has finished consistently in the top 7, let's say, in all the 10 scale races in America. He has made podiums. He has had his fair share of good results. And he's in the podium again. It's just a matter of time where he has a win like Davey had last year at the Desert Classic. Was it that Davey won? Like, yeah. Schimmel hasn't had a big win, but he, in my opinion, is one of the strongest 10 scale guys in America. Like, if you had to make a top 7 10 scale drivers currently in America, he would be in there. That's my argument. So I think
I did eat my words on INS. I did eat my words on INS.
Okay, so you already corrected this? Because you've been
I
saying
already
this
said
for the
that,
past year. You've been saying for the past
I
year.
still want him to go to stock. I still want him to go to stock. And another thing I said is I don't think that Nate Sutherland should be running mod right now. I think his value was in stock, and he should have done another year in stock for Schumacher. That's my thoughts. I wanted to reiterate a few things. Fenn was, kind of didn't skip a beat.
Yeah.
Rivkin, AE was kind of on the back foot. Rivkin found something in four-wheel drive still, because they were really on the back foot for all of qualifying. Like what I mean, just not on Fenn's pace. And then two-wheel drive a little bit. Then he found something in the two-wheel drive mains, and they found something in late qualifying. And Rivkin came back and pulled that one out of his ass. He got the four-wheel drive win, and he got the clash win where he made like $2,800. So good 10 scale race. I have to say this, that I think 10 scale won silly season this year or last year. It had the most moves, most interesting moves. And I have not watched a 10 scale race this closely for quite some time. I usually watch the Nationals and Euros and Worlds quite heavily. And I used to watch Reedy race. But I really like Hooser, and I watched a lot of this race. Pretty much. And yeah, we see a few guys have moved up from stock to mod. We see Stakowitz, Doug Laverdier, Nate Sutherland, even Henley, Talon Henley, but Talon this is his local track, so he's used to that. So it's good to see. Schimmel having a great result, Bada having a good result, the Raymond brothers having a good result, winning Levi winning four-wheel drive. And yeah, like it's good to see. I'm looking forward to INS. I know not all of these guys are going to be at INS, but yeah, it should be good. Should be good. Yeah, good first race of the year. Big race as well for 10 scale. This is like starting out to be like the Daytona of RC for 10 scale. First big race of the year.
Yeah, I think so too. And one thing I want to say about the 10 scale that, before we had a Reedy race, we had Cactus Classic, we had even like way back in the day, we had the Hot Rod Hobby Shootout, and then there was some race at the end of the year as well. But there was like big.
Oh, you had the CRCRC race at the beginning. This is like what the CRCRC race used to be, the big 10 scale race.
Yeah.
Then it was indoor in Ohio, and then it was a 8 scale race the next week after that.
Yeah.
That's going because that facility is closed.
Yeah, but I mean, they used to have like one big 10 scale race every quarter or so. And I'd say like between 2017 and 2023, so pretty much like between, let's say 2017 to now, it feels like all of the 10 scale races are just like some of the top guys go, but never all of the top guys go, like there's not that hype in a lot of these 10 scale races. Because I remember Cactus Classic back in the day, that was like everybody was watching. It was like, and Reedy race as well. It was like the race of the year.
I get what you're saying. We missed that big race. Okay, we have Desert Classic, we have that, but we don't have. It's been a while, and this has filled that gap.
Yeah, but I wish that now with Schumacher and X-Ray putting in more effort in 10 scale, that's gonna bring out like the competition, and the competition is gonna bring out drivers to go to more races, and hopefully, like the best case scenario would be like something like INS succeeds, where all of these guys start going to each event, and then it's actually like really, really good. Because
a series, proper series.
Then we would like kind of accidentally establish like a proper like series that we've been asking for in 8 scale for the longest time. But it seems like it could be possible in 10 scale. I hope these guys like take that idea and go with it.
I think that's the plan of getting Elite behind the INS to pump it up a little bit more and try to get more value for people. Dude, I was told like if Fenn would have won 4-wheel drive and that sweep, I had this whole video planned on how the RC world should be scared right now.
Yeah.
Because Fenn's like deadly, but he didn't. So that messed up that video. But listen.
Still.
I was talking to him and he said, dude, the X-ray team was so big, we couldn't even fit on the driver's stand. I was like, God. Like, it's like, I didn't realize how big the X-ray side of things have been till I went to the carpet championships. And I was like, wow. Like AE might have won the war with TLR because I think TLR is going to be non-existent very soon in this type of racing. Yeah, they'll have Hunter Kings and guys like that who are good in stock. But X-Ray just like, all right, move over TLR. Hello, Associated. Associated like got rid of beaten TLR to a very formidable, and we ain't taking no shit. We can just manufacture anything X-Ray. Like it wasn't like like it went from, okay, there's TLR to boom, we're her. What you gonna do? And then right behind them is Schumacher. So Associated's got like a lot of competition in America. There've been kind of Schumacher, and I would say Schumacher, and I would say X-Ray maybe a little bit bigger than AE in Europe, but AE still has a good presence, right?
I'd say
I think they're about.
Well, okay, it might have changed the last time I've seen, but I'd say from my experience, for the past 10 years or so, AE has been the most successful team in off-road in Europe. Like just
I can't
like amount. Well, when you count the heads, like Associated is like the biggest team in almost every race.
Yeah, and but X-Ray isn't too far behind, right?
No, they aren't. Yeah, they are close,
right.
But I think especially the two-wheel drive.
Like you go to Italy, like they're the only top AE guys. Ongaro, like England has a big Associated group. Associated is a decent team. I would beg to argue, but that's not the point.
Yeah.
My point is that like you got rid of TLR. Well, TLR is on the way out, and her is fucking X-Ray and Schumacher right behind them. Right now, will be perfect for like S-Works or Mugen. If Mugen could get their fucking 4-wheel out, right, and get people representing that, like Mugen can fill in that gap, right? They're all S-Works. If they just got their, they got already established pretty much on the 8 skill. If they could get somebody that's running and fix, I'm not saying fix, but get those 10 skill cars up to snuff on dirt and for American racing, then yes, there's a spot in 10 scale for 2 more manufacturers. That it's only really 3, right? So imagine if like 2 more manufacturers came in, it would spice things up a lot. And there's room for that. There's definitely room for 1 and there's room for 2. So we shall see how that all develops over the next few years. But great showing for Fenn, great showing for Rivkin too. I have to give them both their props. All right, up next, One Race, One Man 2025, January 3rd to 5th at the IBR Padova in Ducarere. I think I said that right. Italy. And always the first race for the Europeans. Really cold. It looked really dusty, the videos that I saw this year. Usually it looks like they treat it really, really like loose and dusty.
Yeah, I don't really know. Do they really even treat it with anything? I feel like it's more just so that it's quite damp during the winter. So then the dust stays down and then the surface sort of packs up. But perhaps it's not being as damp. Perhaps like they've changed something. Usually I feel like they even water the track. I don't really know for sure. I've never been there. But yeah, it was definitely a bit more, because usually it's just bar tires, like really like polished surface, almost like floor, like gym floor type. But now it was different.
Yeah, I honestly did not pay much attention to this. I'll be honest with you, because I don't think it had coverage. I saw some videos. E-Buggy was Ricardo Berton, Polito, and Barufalo. So, and then in Nitro Buggy was Polito, Barufalo, and Zancatine. So Polito, man, still killing it there in Italy. A good run for Bertin. A good finish for Barufalo. Barufalo and Berton, you say, look very good at their new Kyosho rides. I would agree with that.
Yeah, I think with Barufalo definitely had a bad year last year with WRC. lots of other drama, like getting his stuff stolen and whatever. Like, so it's not like there was probably other things that should have hindered his year and run in the Italian Championship as well as like the Euros and the Worlds. But definitely wasn't a good run with WRC. And then Berton, I feel like he never really. Yes, he won Montpellier last year, but apart from that, I feel like he never actually could be as good as he is with the Infinity car. I don't know if it was that, the car didn't suit him, or that the car just wasn't balanced enough, or that, the tire, like he was running Olgo tires, so they are still a new brand. They don't work on all surfaces, most likely. So if it's something like that, but this year I feel like we're gonna see sort of the old Ricardo Berton back, and I hope it's good. But that all being said, I think with Polito winning in SIGP, he is definitely the second best Italian. I think there's no question
I
about it.
wouldn't disagree with that.
Yeah.
I would throw that Polito is hard to put him in the top 5 best in Europe, but he's not too far out of that.
Yeah,
It's
and
such
the
competition.
thing with Polito is that no matter the scenario, he's like always there. He's like always like around 7th or something. But
Very good driver.
I think he has 2 big issues. He's not very flashy, so he doesn't have like top 1 runs, or he doesn't have TQ rounds ever. And then another one is that he doesn't speak much English, so he's unknown to the outside market. But I feel like he's one of the most underrated drivers in terms of finishes. Like he finishes much higher than most of these guys on a regular basis. And yeah,
I wouldn't disagree with you there. All right, let's move on. We're going to move on to our Invisible Speed and RC Project race recap of the week, which is the 2025 SIC.
Stop scrolling, you wannabe Lewis Hamilton. Learn something new with Invisible Speed. You can't do everything at 100% maximum speed. You have to be smooth. I mean, when you drive a real car, how do you just, when you get to a 90-degree corner to turn into the parking lot, do you go like that with the steering wheel? Do you like slam on the throttle and the brake? No. You probably turn the wheel smooth and get on the throttle smooth. Same thing with an RC car. If you want to learn more and make your speed visible, stop scrolling.
Stop scrolling. That's right. You can find links for Invisible Speed in the written description. And what's up, RC fam? A big shout out to our new advertiser, RC Project. A big shout out to Stefano and everybody there delivering next level products to boost your performance in your RC cars. From precision clutch systems to ultra durable shock caps and high quality tools, RC Project has everything you need to dominate the track. You can find their amazing products at Beach RC and A Main Hobbies, or head on over to their website at rc-project.it to check out their full lineup. A big, massive thank you to Stefano and the team at RC Project for supporting the podcast in 2025 and the RC community. Let's show them some love, RC family. RC Project is here to take your setup to the next level. Let them know you heard about this on the No Name RC podcast. All right, Maxi. So first big race. This is what really gets our energy, our hype going here is, 8 scale racing. I made the trip out to Ottaville, Alabama with the Elite RC Productions crew. Big shout out to them. The Southern Indoor Championships, January 10th to 12th in Ottaville, Alabama. Now, pre-race talking points. It was cold. There were snowstorms and stuff in the south. Here's what it was. Snowstorms and snow in the south. And over in California, we had forest fires, with California burning up and all that type of stuff. So there's a lot going on. They are in my thoughts as well out there in California. But we had lots of snowstorms. It actually snowed people in. Little less entries coming to this race, and it was colder that weekend. So people that were probably intending on coming was not able to make it because of the snow. And yeah, it was a little light, less of a turnout, but made for a very comfortable race in the end. We did have all the major drivers there besides Rivkin and Cavallari and Aiden Horn. Rivkin doesn't come to this race. Apparently, he doesn't like it. Maybe too cold for him. But
from the desert.
he was not there. He is from the desert, but it gets cold in the desert too, you know.
Yeah. Well, yeah. That's true.
Nighttime gets cold in the desert. All right, so some of our pre-race talking points going into this race. Obviously, with silly season, we saw lots of drivers showing up with their new rides and sponsors. Fend with his new X-Ray, Rose with his new Associated, and Lutz with his Raw Speed tires, which, besides Fend, was probably the most impressive showing all weekend.
Yeah, and just to quickly comment on the Raw Speed tires, I that was one of the most surprising news of silly season to me. Like, I was not expecting, I was expecting Ryan Lutz to leave AKA, but from all the tire brands out there, like, Raw Speed was not my first guess. But I mean,
it was shocking.
He had a great showing here, so I'm not saying that it was a bad move by any means. So,
I mean, he TQ'd Nitro Buggy and finished second.
Yeah, so I mean, if anything, he did better than ever before with AKA. So, yeah,
I think he told me he was running clay compounds. He's very impressed with the tires. And I did talk to Lutz. We interviewed him, and he was telling me that what he's been working on lately is his diet. He says he's found as he gets older, it's very harder for him to concentrate during the long finals. Also, we didn't talk about this, was Thibaut coming out of retirement to race.
Yeah,
as well. And I had a chat
somewhere in the notes, but yeah.
But I had a chat with Thibaut, and he seems a lot more relaxed. You know, I've been around Thibaut, and I'm seeing him like stressed the fuck out, stressed, you know.
Yeah.
But at this race, he was helping a guy, Kirk Peterson and Peterkin, from Canada, and he was also his teammate, but he was running like a Mugen. And he was doing his JTP thing, and I think Thibaut had a good run. I don't know his results. We have to bring him up here, but I mean, in Nitro Buggy, he finished 7th. He qualified 5th and finished 7th. That's not bad for his first big race after a year off. He still has the talent. He still has the talent and race. But I think now he's not racing. I'm sure he's getting some money and compensation, but he's not racing like to a serious note. Like, he's just enjoying it. And when I talked to him, he said the same kind of thing. He says, as I've gotten older, he says qualifying and all that's fine. It's concentrating and focusing for that long main that I'm struggling with. So pretty interesting to hear that from some of these older drivers. But man, Thibaut coming out of retirement and taking a freaking 7th, that's pretty good. Like, if Cavallari could do that at DNC for Invisible Speed, I think that'd be a win. And yeah, like we said, first race of the year for the Americans. Brandon Rose won this last year in a surprising win, but dominating win. It was awesome to see. We was hoping for something like that coming into this race as well, but unfortunately didn't happen. We had lots of weird issues with drivers. Of course, this was Dakota Fenn's first time out on the new X-Ray platform as an 8 scale, and his bags and Chicalero's bags got lost. Yeah. So like, Fenn didn't even have X-Ray gear. He was wearing like civilian clothes the entire time. He had to borrow somebody's hoodie to wear, and the truggy went missing. So I think he said that the center of the truggy was in his bag, and Paul had the clip something. They had the clips, but didn't have the center. And unfortunately, there's not enough X-Ray guys at a race. He probably could have gotten a truggy, but wouldn't have his engine, wouldn't have his servos, all that type of stuff. Yeah. So they decided not to race truggy. And I think it was probably the better decision because they were able to focus more on E-Buggy and Nitro Buggy. And Mayfield actually got food poison through this race because we was calling him for an interview after he TQ'd like truggy, and he was not showing up. I was like, come on, Mayfield. But apparently he was sick. So we talked to him the next day, and he says, yeah, it's a rough weekend for him. Food poisoning. When you're sick, man, it's just like being at work, man. I was sick. Lance was sick. Lance was sick. And I got a little bit sick while I was there, but I kind of got over it. I really enjoyed it. Layout. Let's look at the layout. I think we should look at the track. Or did you want to talk on any of those pre-race talking points before we get into the track?
No, let's go forward. I think, yeah, there's a lot of interesting things going into the race, but at the end of the day, like, this is kind of where everything gets going, and we still have DNC where that's the one where the storylines build up. Yeah.
Yeah, we're actually this is the start of the Pro Nitro Buggy A final 30 minutes. As you see, Ryan Lutz started on TQ. So this track, very busy, Max. So Bobby, you have written in his notes, Bobby has made it a point. The last 2 tracks, he did it at AMS and he did it at SIC. He wants to put lots of jumps. He even said, I put as many jumps Supercross style so I could benefit the Americans at SIC, sorry, at AMS. He goes, but it didn't work, Keenan. I said, no. I said, it isn't about jumps. But very busy track. No straightaway. We had a rhythm section on the straightaway. I actually drove on this track, to be honest. So I have my Techno E-Buggy 2.0, which has been completely built. It's got a Reds electronics in it, high-tech servo. So big shout out to Blake Baker for making that happen, as well as Wilson and Roger Cowart. And Patrick put it together, and Patrick was like, Lefty, when are you going to drive your car? I took my radio and I bonded it, and he, all day in practice, he went, oh, Lutz makes that mistake. That's when Fan gets by. That was it. Fan got that, and he never looked back after that. As we're watching this race, sorry. So I did get to drive on this track, and I will say that every jump on this track was very easy to do. That quad section in the front, people's like, somebody's got a triple in, and it's like, you just don't get enough. I mean, maybe if you come from staging, but the way the jump was designed, it sent you just far enough and just high enough. You didn't get the height. It was more of a long jump, but they were very easy to do. And even this jump was easy to do. I actually got hit by a car when I was tire marshaling, but I deflected it off my arm. This little jump was very hard, jumping up onto that section. And this section seemed to catch people out, and people would flip her in the builder. This section was a lot of fun to do. That S section, come before you come on the straightaway. And it looked great and when he was there watching cars do it. So very busy track, lots of jumps, no straightaway. It got rough. It kind of was very wet and moist and humid for the first day or so. And then actually the water froze. They couldn't water it the next day. So it did form a groove. It did blow out a little bit, but it kind of went how it went the year before. But it didn't matter to this man right here because he just kicked ass. Like, amazing. Thoughts on the track, Max?
Yeah, like you said with the track design for Bobby, I feel like this is exactly like he just pretty much like what he did at AMS. He just did more, so he went even further, and he added like a lot of, like for example, the washboard here that people are going through. A lot of sections where things can go wrong, and even the front doubles, like the landings are rather sharp. They're easy to get over, but like then if you want to downside the landing, they're quite sharp. So one of the most,
they were precision. You had to be precise. You couldn't just send it. You had to kind of, you sent it and then you scrubbed off a little speed and you just, to land it perfectly. Like those front doubles, when you did it, it was great. When you could get it, it was great.
Yeah, but I mean, it's definitely one of the most technical tracks Bobby has done, to my memory. I can't really remember anymore. Well, maybe that AMS track a few years back, but this is just, the jumps are way bigger here. I mean, the area is a bit bigger than AMS, so it makes sense. But I have to be honest, it's not my favorite track of him. I do get his idea, but I think at the end of the day, like this Europeans are just better than Americans. It doesn't really matter. Like the only way.
Oh my God, we're gonna get so much hate for that. Max finally said it.
But I mean,
the
only way you're gonna get Americans even a bit closer would be to have like a very slow speed track. So just slow speed, 180. And that's the only way you get it. Because like most of these American guys, when they practice on small tracks. Like the tracks in America in general are tiny. And when they show up to these races at like, I don't know how big this is compared to PNB, but the PNB track was huge. And then you show up to like SMB or something. These tracks are really, really small. Especially I was going to say especially on the East Coast, but I mean, I'd say both West and the East Coast. The tracks are really small. And I feel like that's something we don't have in Europe. Our tracks are always like medium to large in size, and it's always quite high speed. So I feel like the only thing you can do is really, really slow it down. A lot of 180s, but to be honest, nobody wants to drive on that. So that's kind of your kind of switching the other for the enjoyment, right? Switching the performance of Americans for enjoyment of all. I guess that would be kind of the thing. But big jumps, I don't think these are gonna hurt anyone really in of the Europeans that much. I don't know if the guys enjoyed this. Personally, I do like more, let's say, drivable tracks where you can focus on racing against the other cars instead of like racing against the track. Sure, this was quite easy. The jumps were doable, not like Joey's jumps a lot of times where it's like actually hard to make them at times. And it did seem to hold up really well. Like here are these few bumps, but most of the track seems pretty good. That being said, the beginning was, in my opinion, the most interesting because the whole practice day pretty much wasn't it like really dusty and like loamy and like wet. The surface was like damp. So I felt like that was really interesting because that's something we hadn't seen before. But I guess that was just before it got packed in by the cars running on it. So yeah,
1 second. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like practice day, the track was really humid, very low traction. There was a lot of water it was weird. It wasn't raining, but there was still a lot of moisture in the air. And when I went on the track, it was like the last practice session, or like third practice session from 10 o'clock. And it was slick. It was slick out there, very slick. That was at night after all day being on it. So it was slick out there fighting for traction. And then it developed like kind of how it did. But they said this is how it was last year. So don't know. As for me, I like the track. Like I don't have to race on it. So I just like watching the jumps and all that stuff. A little bit of I think that if you had an accident in that front quad, it was very hard to get turn marshal there because it was, cars coming there at a good clip. So that made it a little bit difficult. You did not want to crash there. That was not where you wanted to crash. But I think it was okay. I like the jumps. I see what it's trying to do. Rhythm sections, and I really enjoyed the quads on the front straight away. It was fun. Like you just come, it's not very easy to do, but to do them perfectly every lap is challenging because that's the point. But they're easy to do, but a little lapse of judgment and you can do it. You can mess it up. What we did have, which I really liked, was on the scoring, we put 2 leaps in, so we was able to time fuel stops, which was great because I was able to see how many fuel stops they had, what time they came in, and that made it so much better. And well, let's just get into it. Qualifying. Practice was good. Qualifying was all right. And qualifying, it was Mayfield, Wiggins, and Setzer. Kamila did TQ Q1, but kind of he was on a good Q2 run, but kind of just wasn't able to put it all together. Mayfield looked good as usual with that techno truck out there in Q2. At Q2, even though he is sick. And with no Fend, it was difficult, because that's like the litmus test to Mayfield, Fend and him. They've been the ones that have been kind of doing this all together. In E-Buggy was Fend, Fuller, and Mayfield. Fuller took TQ in Q1. It was like, damn. Like he was on it. But then Fend just came out swinging. I think Fend, he said he made some Ackerman changes to his car. That's it. And he came out and took Q2 and Q3 in E-Buggy. And then a Nitro buggy, Lutz took it in Q1 and Q2, which I was very happy for Ryan Lutz. I thought that Lutz could have won this race, and I was hoping that he would. I would not have been mad if he wouldn't have won this race. He is very confident. He seems to be very happy with the lugs, with the raw speed tires. He was there with little bump. Fee did not have a very good weekend, but Lutz had a very good weekend. He TQ'd. Fend was in second, and Mayfield was third. So yeah, Fend took Q3 with just 1 second separating him and Mayfield. Tebow qualified with a pair of 4s. Like that's good run for Tebow, like a Nitro buggy, like on a professional estate like that. So it's very good, I think, for him. let's see. Do we have any surprises in her for? Well, there was no Cole Ogden. I forgot. Cole Ogden didn't come to this race. He was on vacation, I believe. Wasn't able to come back from vacation.
One thing though.
Did you want to?
One thing I wanted to say is that it wasn't like, you know, Lutz like was dominant in qualifying. It was actually a really tight fight. So Q1 there was 8 tenths between him and Dakota. Q2 there was 3 tenths between him and Dakota. And yeah, Q3 Ryan had some. I guess he was just testing something because he already confirmed the overall TQ. But in qualifying, it was like these guys were going head to head, and Ryan came out on top. So I'm like, when I saw this, I was like really surprised because I could see like Fenn being lost on the qualifying day, and then like Lutz being sort of best of the rest. But it doesn't look like, you know, Fenn was ahead of any other guys or anything. It was just like Lutz was the top of the field that day. And yeah, another guy I want to give a little bit of a shout out to was Seth Van Dalen. You know, before we came on, actually, we talked about him a bit, that he was one of those guys who sort of silently was really good last year. A lot of runs where he qualified in the top 5, a lot of runs where he ran in the top 5 for the longest time. If I don't remember wrong, podium that PMB. Lots of like.
Well, he's finished fourth in a lot of these races. I can't remember. He's finished fourth at most of his worst races were DNC and Silver State. And he did not go to SIC. And how I realized this is we had some of his points wrong in the NNRC Cup. So he messaged me about it. And I went looking and I was like, and I told him, I was like, dude, I didn't realize you had like so many top 5s this year.
It was a very quiet year for him. But when you compare him to, you know, Heckert or well, who else? Well, I mean, Tyler Jones isn't with Techno anymore, but any of the sort of guys who were on the brink of making it pro, he was definitely the number one guy of those guys from the Techno team. And I feel like he's getting really close to like actually establishing himself as like someone like him. Because we talk about Mason Fuller all the time. But when you start looking at his results from last year,
I get it.
Like Van Dalen wasn't that much worse than Fuller. The good thing for Fuller was though that he was really good at the Worlds, but still, I feel like we have kind of forgot how good of a year,
Van Dalen is. There's the start to the Truggy race. Danny Stockman now moved over to Techno. He is all technoed out doing the pitting for Mayfield. Mayfield kind of led this from lights to flags, man. I mean, we've seen this happen quite a lot with Mayfield and that Techno truck. There's Wiggins and Lee Setzer right behind him. I think that's Jonah Wilson as well. We'll watch a little bit of this. So, like, yeah, nobody really had nothing for Mayfield in this. Lights to flag finish for him. Tough run for Wiggins after a good qualifying, and Lime just couldn't seem to put in a similar run as Lasher. He made it up to 4th, but unfortunately didn't make it. In the end, it ended up being Ryan Mayfield, Mason Fuller, Ryan Lutz. Good run for Fee Long. He finished 4th. Spencer Heckert, good run for him, top 5, I would say. Quiet top 5. Lee Setzer was in 6th. Jonah the Fish Wilson in 7th. Seth Van Dalen 8th. Adam Drake 9th. Cole Caston 10th. Mark Souza making a trip for his first big race in quite a long time. In 11th, Jared Wiggins. David Olson 13th. Ryan Daze. Jared Tebow 15th. Not a good weekend for Truggy for him. Camden Line 16th. And Dakota Fan 0 laps. It was only 17 cars, so everybody kind of made the final here. But there you can see that these cars are just handling rough track so much better. There's Mayfield. Once you start giving up, so I had Dakota Fan and her commenting, doing co-commentary with me on this. And instead of, he called a little bit of race, I was like, all right, so Fan, you see Mayfield starting to pull away here. What do you do? And he broke it down as like, well, I think as long as he's up to, he says, as long as his gap isn't more than 8 seconds, I can catch him. I think that's what he was saying. I'll let that gap go, but after the 8-second mark, that's when it becomes crucial. But I try not to let him get more than 4 seconds ahead of him. Now, I could be wrong. And I had a few people message me and say we appreciated having Dakota Fenn in there and comment. He actually asked us, because he's now a part of Elite RC Productions, like a team driver, so he's doing some like social media and stuff like that. So he came in and was quite interested to hear how he would approach this race and what he would do. And I think how his game plan would have worked, he would have just not, it would have been him and Mayfield out here had he got a good start. So good run, good win for Techno, and obviously for Mayfield, he'd be happy with that, even though he was sick. Not the best weekend for him being sick, but still a good weekend for him nonetheless, I would say.
One thing I do want to say about Tebow,
All right.
he did qualify fourth.
Mhm.
And so he did have a good
did
run in
qualify
Truggy.
fourth.
Actually, he was better in Truggy because he TQ'd a round or finished second in a round in Truggy. So he had a really good run in Truggy, but I don't know what happened with him, but had a DNF. Another one who had a tough run was Lime. You remember last year with that fight for the win? Definitely not on the same level this year.
Yeah.
But he did make it up to fourth for a while before having a DNF. And Wiggins, he started second, so I was really expecting him to have a good run. But he has kind of, how do I say this so that it's not so harsh?
So
Yeah,
you defend
'cause
anybody?
the thing with Wiggins is he's really good in qualifying. He has had multiple results where he's in top 5 in qualifying, but in the mains, it's not only that he has mechanical issues or flame outs or whatever. It's also that a lot of the times when the mains get longer, he starts to drift off. He can't hold it with a lot of these guys and then makes mistakes. Is it down to something he does in preparation, or is it down to just that he's not really known to be the fastest guy out there, but he's known to be really good with, setting the car up for the team and working with the team and so on. So is it just that he's more focused in other things, or is there something that he could fix? I don't know. But yeah, for sure. Every time he's up there, I feel like, okay, now he's time to show, but he kind of ends up crumbling a lot of these times. So yeah, and then it's like I'd say Mason Fuller is kind of the opposite. He oftentimes has really poor qualifyings. Even here, he qualified 5th for Troggy. He qualified. Let me get this buggy qualifying.
He had a stinker Nitro buggy one. We'll talk about that.
7th
He had a
in
stinker
Nitro
of a
buggy
Nitro.
qualifying. So Fuller is like an example who consistently underperforms in qualifying and then gets back to his level in mains. And then Wiggins is like the polar opposite of that, where he does well in qualifying and then suffers in mains. To some extent, you could put that label on Rose as well, but he has also had those good runs in the mains. So it's kind of he's more of a split deal than either of those two. But yeah, just one thing I really wanted to point out, because I was expecting a lot for him after the good qualifying in Truggy. Wiggins, that is.
Yeah, unfortunate for E-Buggy. We move on to those results. Dakota Fan takes it in A1 and A2. He takes the win. Mason Fuller, Ryan Mayfield, Jared Wiggins, Brandon Rose, Lee Setzer, Jonah Wilson, Feelong, Ryan Lutz, Cole Caston, Stephen Dalen, Adam Drake, Caden Fuller, Spencer Heckert, Cameron, Julian Oliveras, Tyler Jones. Mason fast, but just not as fast as Fenn, man. Just he was 2 seconds off Fenn, 2.5 seconds off Fenn in the A2. But man, I mean, just nobody had enough for Fenn and E-Buggy. Nobody had enough for Fenn and E-Buggy in Q2, Q3, and then A1 and A2. Just dominant by Fenn. Good run for Fuller. Mayfield will be want to have a win, but he'll take a top 3. Wiggins, Rose.
Yeah,
good
I think
top 5 for Rose. If it's
pretty
associated.
much all of these guys we've mentioned so far, like Wiggins, for example, here, like he'd be very happy with this result after what I just said for the long mains. And Rose, similar thing. Sure, it's not
Yeah.
like the win last year, but it's a solid result.
Yeah. Lee Setzer might not be happy with a 6. He TQ'd E-Buggy last year, if I'm not mistaken. And he had a 4th and a 5th overall. And I would say Camden Lyon wouldn't be happy. Tyler Jones definitely wouldn't be happy. He finished 17th. He was very fast at this race last year.
Yeah.
So yeah, lots of E-Buggy kind of, even it up. E-Buggy's a little harder to drive.
Yeah.
And all that type of stuff. We did watch Pro Nitro Buggy final earlier, but we're going to talk about that here in a second. I think you have something to add about
so
E-Buggy,
a
Max?
few names I want to pick off from here. So Wilson in 7th. This is sort of like his basic result at this point. Fee with an 8th in E-Buggy, but the big story about Fee was that he was just lost. Like, I wasn't there, so I don't know, like, did you have a chance to chat with them? But he seemed like he was just not himself all weekend long. Like, it was very odd.
I don't know what was going on. I think they won a struggle bus this weekend. Just one of them races for him. Not good for him. I mean, not bad, but not the best race for him. And it could be a myriad of things. A myriad of things. So I'm not too sure. If he's getting older too now, his voice is starting to drop. He's getting taller than his dad. He's starting to turn into a teenager.
Yeah.
So,
one thing.
Who knows?
One thing with Fee is that.
Go ahead.
I do feel that the way he does jumps is one of his weaknesses. So, like, one theory in my mind that I was thinking was that because this track had big jumps, that that maybe this is why he suffers a bit. And the reason why I say that is, who would I say? There's like 2 different ways to do jumps. One is like, okay, there's 2 ways to do jumps well. One is like always hit them at the specific spot and run straight onwards, and then sort of just have a very linear jump. That's one way to do them well without making crashes. It's not the fastest way. Then there's the Elliott Boots or Ongaro way, where you kind of jump the jump wherever you kind of have the spot to jump it, and then really direct the car in the air. And Fee kind of does the second style, but he doesn't direct the car in the air. So he jumps the jumps wherever he sort of finds the spot that he line goes into, and then he kind of just holds his speed. And a lot of the times I feel like they're running a lot less front droop than the other cars. And I don't know if this is sort of something he has developed himself or because of that front droop, or that he just does this naturally, is that he doesn't really land the car nose first a lot of the times. He often lands the car flat. And this is good when the jumps are very shallow, like very low. It's good because you can immediately go on power and the car will naturally power out. But when the jumps get higher and higher, you can't do that because you're just gonna like bottom out. And on a track like this, when you bottom out, you're gonna mess up the next jump and then the next jump after that. And add on to this is that the Kyosho chassis is very big. You have those huge side pods on the rear. It's wide, especially the E-Buggy when the battery is wide and everything. When you jump your car like flat like this, it's gonna catch a lot of air below it, and it's gonna float the car a lot. So in the air, the car floats a lot. So if you're not actively directing it down, it's gonna land a bit lopsided to one side because it's not going forward as much as it's floating up. So all of these things combined, I feel like are hurting his way, because I saw this a lot at the Worlds, and I saw this a lot at the Nationals main, because he crashed a lot in the jumps in the Nationals main. He was the fastest guy out there, but he ended up making a lot of mistakes over those jumps. And yeah, like Ongaro is a model example of a guy who really directs the car in the air and points it to land the way he wants it to land. And I feel like Fee doesn't do that. And that's something that just now I had this idea in my head that could this be something on tracks like this? Maybe this is something he still needs to work on. But yeah, his cars look very dull in the air. They're not very active in the air. And when you land a car like that, oftentimes you're gonna have struggle powering out, and you're gonna make mistakes in that part, and then it's gonna hurt in the next jump and so on. Yeah. So that was my big spiel about that. I wasn't intending to go that long, but because you asked, I had to. So you told me to explain. So don't tell me anything. Yeah.
I should have said briefly. All right. I'm not even gonna. We'll get into that another point. But you bring up some good points there, and I'm sure somebody is listening.
Yeah.
Let us know, what do you guys think about Max's theory
this
about
is just like
in the comments.
Don't get on me like, oh, he doesn't do that or whatever, because this is my impression of what he does. I haven't studied his driving enough to be confident that this is what he does, but this is my impression of what I've seen. So I don't know. Maybe there's something to it. Maybe there's not. But for sure, it was a bit of a stinker of a weekend for him. And there are definitely tracks that he does better in. Before we go into Nitro Buggy, what is it with Lutz and E-Buggy? Why does he have so much success in Nitro Buggy, but then has the toughest times in E-Buggy?
Oh, it's kind of been reversed. It's been good for him in
different.
E-Buggy times.
But the past 6 months or so, this is how it's been, I feel. But before, when he initially joined Kyosho, it was the other way around.
Well, maybe it's something to do with the age thing and getting. Maybe he's just more of a. His Nitro throttle fingers more in tune than his E-Buggy tune. Who knows?
I feel like.
Who knows?
I mean, again, I'll be much more brief with this one. But one thing could be that when he joined Kyosho, he wasn't with Invisible Speed. So he kind of ran whatever setup he knew. And now that he's gotten Invisible Speed, he's applied those things to his Nitro car. But because the Kyosho E-Buggy has the batteries all the way to the side, the E-Buggy and the Nitro Buggy are so different in the way of weight distribution and the moment of inertia that he cannot just straight up copy the Nitro setup to the E-Buggy, that he has to do something different. And before, it was so that the initial setup he started with wasn't optimal for the Nitro Buggy, and the E-Buggy could handle it better. But now when his setup is getting better on the Nitro Buggy, his E-Buggy is not, it's going further from what the E-Buggy needs. I don't know. It could be like that. It could be that he actually does have very different setups, but this time out it was different. But I don't know. I'd like to, those are some points you need to ask these guys when you next time interview them in, what's the next big race you're going to see in these guys in?
I will. I'm not sure. Not sure at all. All right. Moving on to Nitro Buggy. Man, these guys in trouble, man. If you don't have a freaking 10-minute engine, you're not beating Fenn. It's gonna be very hard. This dude, not only is he confident and fast, he's fucking doing 10 minutes like it's going for a picnic, a drive, a Sunday afternoon drive. Auto domination, 2 pit stops, perfect, good. I just can't say the guy. You showed the video earlier. Lutz made that mistake. Lefen got by, and it was adios, lights out. Absolutely dominating win for him. I mean, Ryan Lutz finished second. Mayfield finished third. Seth Dalen fourth. Wiggins fifth. Cole Caston sixth. These are good results for these guys. 7th for Tebow. 8th is okay for Lime. Drake with a 9th. He's another one that had 10-minute pits. Spencer Hecker for top 10. Lee Setz 11. David Olsen 12. Jonah Wilson, not the best. Not happy with that. Fee 14th. Not a good weekend in Nitro form. Tyler Jones, TQ's around last year at this race. Finishes top 5, if I'm not mistaken her. 15th this year. Mason Fuller blows a plug. Right? And that ends his weekend. Well, I mean, don't end his weekend, but ends his race potential. And I think for Brandon Rose, with the win last year, maybe a little pressure from that going on, pressure to do well for a new team. He seems super happy to be unassociated, but definitely not the finish that he wants. Well, for Dakota Fenn, He had 1 8-scale win all last year, so he's already topped his record. He had 1 8-scale win, and he also won the NNRC Cup points because he was the most consistent. Like, I think he finished top 3 at every race. Dakota fan, lights out finish. What do you think about this? What do you think about this man's engine?
Yeah,
all that type of stuff.
definitely the mileage is the most interesting factor because, okay, let's put it this way. Ongaro was dominating in Europe in 2018, 2019. And he had one flaw. He couldn't do 730. So he had to run 640. You remember 2022 Worlds where he's the only guy doing, was it now 640? And everybody else, Ronafol, Canas, all these guys were doing 730. That was the one flaw this guy had. He's fixed it so that he can do 730 now, but he has had a lot of flame outs, like the Euros this year, you remember. Okay, why am I talking about Ongaro? Because he was one of those guys who, when he got onto Associated and when he found a good setup that worked for him, he was dominant. Nobody could touch him. Fend, for the longest time, has been driving what I would say is a subpar car in TLR. I would say he has definitely given a little bit of a handicap by the TLR for the past 2 years. And he's still been able to win at times. So let's imagine this. A guy who consistently runs a few tenths faster per average lap, 5 seconds in 5-minute qualifiers. Give him a car that he's comfortable with. He doesn't make mistakes anymore. And then he's able to run 10-minute pit stops. If in fact I'm right in that TLR was a handicap, if that is true, Ben could actually within this year become the fastest racer in the world in 8-scale, just by getting his program together and because he's able to run 10 minutes. And there is this world, because he was fast at the Worlds this year already, but he made too many mistakes. And I'd say that's because of the car. There is a world where in 2026, at the Worlds in Thornhill, he and Ongaro, and let's throw in a Canas as well, because obviously he's fast. Those three are equally matched in pace, and Fend is able to go 8:30 for the 60-minute main, whereas Canas and Ongaro have to settle for 7:30. Or even 10 minutes, if it was that for Fend, which it could be. Like, he could be...
The man said he can do 11:40.
Like, the potential here is incredible. Like, and there has never in history been, at least to me, there has never been like a guy who's incredibly fast and able to do longer pit stops than others. Robert Batte was one guy who was incredibly fast in mains at the point, but he's never been known for long pit stops. He often did long pit stops, but he's never... He's a guy who risked it for the long pit stops because he had a shitty start, you know? Ronafog has always been known as a 7:30 guy. Really rarely ran long pit stops. There just hasn't been a guy who's consistently able to do long pit stops and be this fast. And I feel like this is the part where he could become like the dominant man in the world. And that's why it's like super scary.
That's exactly so. Exactly. So people be, well, Drake does 10 minutes. Yes, Drake does 10 minutes, and he's been doing it for many years. But Drake is not the pace of Dakota Fend, right? We're talking about one of the best drivers in the world who now has a 10-minute pit strategy in his back pocket, and if needs to be, he could go longer. Like, and he's fast and confident on it. You know, people. This is the first time out. He told me on the podcast. He says, "Yeah, I had a few tanks in the Nitro car and a few packs in the E-Buggy. Yeah, that's it." That's what he had prior to this. They worked hard. Him and Chicarillo worked hard. They were practicing a lot. They had like a 15-minute mock race for some media stuff. He was a part of that. You know, being discombobulated, having your bags go missing. It's a lot of things going on. You know, you got uncomfortable, new team, not the way you want to start, stressed out. wanted to show your old team, hey, fuck you guys. Why
I don't
you
think
fucking
I don't
fired
think
me? I'm going to
Dakota
show
would
you.
ever think that, because he's like too nice seeming of a person to ever think that. But yeah,
I'm pretty sure he thinks it. He just ain't saying it. And I think he did a good job. I think he did a good job. He did what he had to do. He comes out. He has two successful. I mean, he could have won the whole clash, right? But he didn't. But I think two biggest races of the year starting. He takes a win in E-Buggy and Nitro Buggy. He reestablished X-Ray. Now, if X-Ray was really good on the 10 skill side of things, they need to build up on the 8 skill side of things. They don't really have that much presence as much as they used to, probably when Gord's there. So they do have a tough, not a tough, but they do have a road to travel there for RC America and all that type of stuff. But, and absolutely, I mean, takes both legs of E-Buggy, takes this Nitro Buggy race without a real challenge. I mean, just you had to go faster than it almost worked out like I thought. Where Lutz at some point did catch back up to him, but just wasn't, and he kind of got into that no man's land, where Mayfield's way back of him and Fenn's in front of him, so he just kind of has to maintain and settle for second and either hope that something happens to Fenn where he can catch him up or not. So, but that didn't happen, and Fenn took a dominating win. And like I said, it was Dakota Fenn, Ryan Lutz, Mayfield, Van Dalen, solid top 4 Van Dalen, top 4, solid top 5 for Wiggins. So we had 1, 2, 3 Technos, an X-Ray, and a Kyosho in the top 5. Cole Caston, another Techno driver in 6. Great run for him, actually. Tebow on a Techno, 7. Techno killed it, right? Camden Lime, Adam Drake. Like I said, Jonah Wilson, disappointed. Brandon Rose, a little bit disappointed. But Mason Fuller, definitely disappointed. Like I like Mason, my boy. He's good. He's great. He's got to get that win though. I think this year he's got to win that Nitro. He's going to have a Nitro Buggy win or more this year, and I think they know that. And I think a lot of these guys know that. I think a lot of these guys needed good results, including Dakota Fenn. He needed to come out and be swinging and say, "Hey, look, I'm back, new car. I'm not saying he's going to win every race, but yeah, Ryan Lutz." Good second. Mayfield third, but not what he wants. He wants a win, right? He wants a win. Truggy win. He'll take that third. Wasn't his weekend. He was sick. Seth Van Dalen, another one, needs that big win, right? Needs that very close, but hasn't got it yet. So, in my opinion, a great kickoff to the start of the year. I actually have Dakota Fenn's interview up here if you want to listen to it. I interviewed him afterwards. I asked him about some of his changes. And I thought it'd be interesting if we listen to what he has to say. Give me a second. Let me get it going. And all right, I got Dakota Fenn here. You had got a little change of clothes. Hey, congratulations! First big. I'm wrong. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong screen. My fault. Race on the X-Ray platform, and you take a dominating win here at SIC.
Yeah, it feels awesome. We made a change after the E-Buggy run for the Nitro Buggy, and it was definitely the right change. Car was super easy to drive, and I was able just to kind of hit my marks out there. I had a couple small bobbles over here, kind of just getting stuck on the pipe going up that hill. It's getting a little chewed out, but yeah, car was awesome. Was able to get great mileage with the ultimate DP engines, doing the 10-minute stops, and definitely took the pressure off.
Yeah, absolutely. So can you tell us a little bit about the changes that you made from E-Buggy to Nitro Buggy?
Yeah, so in E-Buggy, the car was a little bit loose. I'm kind of swinging the rear end around a little bit. And then Chicky kind of came in, had some thoughts when we changed the Ackerman plates just to kind of get the car a little bit easier to drive off center. I could use a little bit more of the wheel. So I was using probably about 25-30% of the wheel in E-Buggy, and then we bumped it up to probably about 50% Nitro Buggy. So just that much easier to drive, and car was awesome.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on your Nitro Buggy win. I think you won A2, A1, and E-Buggy. So you got one more race to go, and you'll make it 2 for 2 because you don't have a Truggy this weekend.
Yeah, hopefully. Well, that's the plan. To go on E-Buggy, we're going to make that change we made to the Nitro Buggy and throws on some fresh J-Concepts tires.
Awesome. Well, congratulations. Go get your car ready, and we'll see you in Pro E-Buggy A2.
Cool. Thank you.
Congrats.
Yeah. I think to me the most promising part of Fenn is how calmly he races these races. He's just just ran 30 minutes and dominated,
dude. So this guy's uber. He was a little stressed, but he's uber confident now, and he should be, right? He's confident in his skills. When we do the driver, so now Danny has this thing is really cool. So you have the car, and then you have a video of the driver while he's driving. So you get to see the expressions of the driver as he's driving on the stream, and you see him, and it's just like, it's no pressure, no nothing. He's very calm. He doesn't, when he makes a mistake, he rarely makes any type of facial expression. And then you see some guys are like, it's really good, but he is very cool, calm, collective. He just won. You can see he's in civilian clothes. Great weekend for Dakota Fenn. Great debut on his X-Ray. And I think he just put the RC world on notice, in my opinion. I think so. Anything you want to add before we move on?
I do want to say that Fuller was in fact in fourth before he had that go out. And also, I did say that Wiggins was not strong in long mains. Granted, this is just a 30-minute main, but he finished fifth in Nitro Buggy. So maybe it was maybe he had a bad weekend in Truggy, and then Buggy was better. Or maybe he had a bad Truggy main. But definitely, I do still stand by my point. but
let me tell you. So when he came fifth in this race, I think it was this one, Katie Roxbury was screaming at the top, like she was so happy because I think it was battling between him and Cole Caston because they were separated by just a second. She was like, I thought somebody was dying on her, like it was so loud. I heard it through the through the ambient mic as well as through the and I was like, who is that screaming on her? And she was so elated that I think it was during this race. She was loud, very loud. So a fifth for Wiggins is very good. He probably needed that. Good run for him. Techno had a good weekend. Lots of, they didn't get a win, but they got a lot of their cars in there. You know who else? So we was talking about Hot Race, right? We was talking about Hot Race and how they're coming in the 10 scale side, as well as TZO and Promotion. So what I did see this trip was a lot of people rocking Promotion gear. Like a lot of people on the Promotion tire thing. They pushed very hard during silly season like Hot Race did, and they scored themselves quite a few good drives. They got like Cole Ogden, obviously Spencer Heckert. They got Camden Lime, Tater. So the tire wars are starting to heat up. We got JC, we got Hot Race who's established, and then we have TZO who's been establishing themselves over the last few years, and now Promotions coming in, getting some drivers. TZO making some moves, as well. Both of them now pumping into getting into the 10 scale side of things as well with carpet and slicks. Then we have tires like Ogo and all these other dialed tires as well, because Gene's pushing really hard. Just signed Craig.
Did he actually sign
Trent dial? I don't know. Greg doesn't. And then he signed a couple of fast guys. He's got Trent on, Aiden Ridgway. So it's the competition. There's a lot of tire brands out there, and there's a group of them that are doing really good, and then there's groups that are catching up. So it's interesting. Promotion was strong. Like I saw a lot of Promotion hats and shirts and hoodies, and that cool branding. They're like they're doing a good job. Branding is key. Is key. All right, Max. Anything to add on SIC before we go? First great race of the year sets up the stage for DNC here. Actually, a lot of guys are going to that NSX race this weekend at the Dirt. I saw the video of it. It looks great. It's Anthony Westergaard's race. So now everybody sets their sights on DNC. Even Fenn is like, yeah, I'm going up there to do NSX, do some testing, get ready for DNC. Next stop is DNC for all of us.
Yeah, it's quite of a long break for the Americans. Obviously, in Europe, we're going to have Montpellier now next up. But for the Americans, it's going to be a long sort of break without a... is there going to be... Is TNR holding another race?
No, they have... No, they have the TNR race too. Sorry. They have the TNR race, which is next weekend.
And that's at the Dirt too.
I don't know if it's at the Dirt or if it's at the because Chris Nelson has a we should probably Google it, but Chris Nelson has a horse arena that he uses as well. So I don't know if it's going to be there or not. But there's races. Right?
or Thunder Owl.
I think it was either at the Dirt or Thunder.
It's been
Yeah.
yeah.
Which speaking of Thunder Alley, I don't know what the future's holding for them because, like, they're supposed to be on the threat of being closed. I know they had a town meeting and all that stuff, but let's see. So entries January. It doesn't say. I think it might be at Palm Desert. We probably should know this type of stuff, but we've been on hiatus. I'll look it up while we move on to some more stuff, or you have a look. And I'm looking at the flyer, but it doesn't say where it's going to be, or maybe I just need to read it. Let me see. Anniversary 5. This is our 5th year having it. It might be at Palm Desert because I know that Chris is not the owner
Drake
of Palm
sold it?
Desert. I don't know if they sold it, but he now is the proprietor of it. So I don't know if they sold it, but he now runs Palm Desert. You've been to
I
Palm
actually
Desert,
never
right?
went. Never been there. No.
Oh, you never been? Okay. So the event will be okay. We are pleased to announce our upcoming A-Main Challenge event hosted by TNR Fuels. The 2025 season kicks off at our race in Norco, California, as we celebrate our 5th year. The event will be held January 30th, 2025 to the February 2nd at the George Ingalls Event Center in Norco, California. So it's under a roof. It's a big horse arena. I know he had put a race in there last year, like to test it. So that's where it's going. It's going to be under a roof.
Yeah, because
All right.
I'm thinking
Which
most
is
of these guys are
I
going
think-
there, like Mayfields, Briefcan, all of this.
I think they'll be good to this into like the Nitro compound race because very similar stuff. Right. Stuff. Well, I think that's it for SIC. Thank you to Dave and Race Time for having us out there to be a part of it. Thank you to everybody that showed myself and some love as well. Big shout out to the Elite RC Productions crew for all their hard work as usual. It's a rough weekend, because it's cold and it's dusty and people are sick and you can't have the doors open, but we pulled through. People had fun. It was some great racing. We enjoyed it. Oh, big shout out to like Wilson Coward. I think Wilson Coward had a great weekend this weekend. Young racer who has always had struggle qualifying, but he qualified well this weekend and he had some good mains. So did Mad Matty Long too. So some good racing for these young. Chris Morant, he won intermediate buggy. He was super. He almost won it last year, and he was happy to win it this year. So good job to him. Alrighty then, Max. Up next is our Sidewinder Racing Techno RC upcoming races. Brought to you by Techno RC.
Techno RC. Techno RC is a championship-winning manufacturer of high-performance 8-scale, 10-scale, nitro, and electric RC buggies and trucks. With a worldwide dealer network, USA and Europe-based headquarters, comprehensive warranty program, and global race support, Techno RC is excellence in RC. View the full lineup of Techno RC race-proven vehicles by visiting www.technorc.com.
Thank you, Techno RC, for all your continued support. I am thoroughly enjoying my e-truggy life. And also a big shout out to Sidewinder Fuel. Morgan Fuel has been collaborating with many of the world's top drivers for over 40 years. This has enabled us to test our fuels in many of the most challenging situations and take the development of our competition fuels to the next level. And the result is Sidewinder, the market's most powerful racing fuel that has been track tested and proven by national world champions such as Ryan Cavallari, Ryan Mayfield, Greg Degani, Mark Pavidis, and their current top driver is the young Fee Long Win. These drivers appreciate that Sidewinder is blended perfectly for the high-performance needs of competitive racing. Don't let victory slip through your fingers. Purchase Sidewinder today. Links for all of these in the written description. I think you can find Sidewinder at A-Main and other local other online shops as well. If you can't, get in contact with Greg Degani and he will show you how to do that. So we have some upcoming races. One I'll be attending. I was there last year. Happy to go back to the Beast of the East Triple Crown. The January 31st to February 2nd, World of RC, Lucama, North Carolina. It is a 10-scale, 8-scale race, indoor. It's cold. It's like that really good clay. You use slicks, 8-scale on slicks. They last forever. It's fun. Looking forward to going back there. Thank you to Chad and everybody for having us back. We have the NSX race going on this weekend. That's the race by Anthony Westergaard that he put in a badass layout. 2025 A-Main Challenge, January 30th to February 2nd. We have the EOS coming up, 2025, January 3rd to February 2nd. INS 15.0, Round 1, February 7th to 9th at Trackside Hobbies. I'll be there. The MKGP, February 14th to 16th, Milton Keynes, United Kingdom. Surface Undecided, multiple surface. I also think that's the same weekend as the Montpellier race in France. So, and we're not going to have coverage of it because they said they would offer their media people cheese and wine, like what they pay for the other media people, complimentary cheese. That's literally what they said. So no coverage, no proper coverage of Montpellier, unfortunately. Obviously, we have the FTC race coming out 21st and 23rd at the Nitro compound. And then the big race coming up is obviously the Dirt Nitro Challenge, March 5th to 9th at the Dirt in Paris. And then after that, we'd have a PMB coming up the first weekend of April. So lots of racing going on. And then, of course, I know with Elite RC, we have the 10 scale Florida Carpet, Florida RC champion starting off, as well as the 8 scale side of things. We have North Georgia Shootout coming up in April as well. RC Pro-Am coming up in May. We have the IBC race, Euro warm-up, Philippine Masters. Oof, busy season for these guys. Busy season. All right, Max. Anything to add to those races before we go on into our last little bit of our podcast? We're going to wrap this up. We're trying to do under 3 hours, and we are. We're not going to go too long. We got some
doing
topics
pretty good,
to talk.
actually. Yeah, not really. There's going to be some pretty big races this year, but I feel like the start of the year is going to be surprisingly quiet for 8 scale.
Well, it doesn't kick off till DNC and we don't. It's like month apart races. There's no real big races in between. 10 scale is going to be busy. We have the Desert Classic coming up as well. So INS is going to be busy. Good stuff. All good stuff. Good racing. We pick up, I would say, from June on. So June on, you have the Nationals, you have European Championships, Nitro Buggy European Championships. We have Wicked Weekend. We have an E-Buggy World Championships. Then we go in America, we go to Peach State, which is the same weekend as the Worlds. So lots of things going on. It's a gradual uptick. It starts out February actually pretty stacked. So,
yeah, but February is like
who knows?
10 scale stacked.
All right.
It's like there's Montpellier GP, but nothing really in America that I know of. Yeah.
8 scale wise. Well, the FTC race will have people there, but not a big race. I know what you're talking about. FTC and NR will have big names there, but not a big race, like with all the names there you want to see. That will be DNC. All right, Max. Okay, all righty. So we are near the end of our podcast, and one of our new sponsors as well, but we've known them for quite some time. They've become good friends with us. A big shout out to Kim and Martin at Latara Racing. Step up your RC racing with Latara Racing, one of Sweden's premier hobby shop and tracks dedicated to racers, brought to you by racers. Featuring top brands like X-Ray, Hobby Wing, Zoo Racing, Team Coyote, Latara will provide everything you need from precision chassis to high-performance electronics and aerodynamic bodies to make sure that you can get to your optimum race pace. Whether you're at the track upgrading your setup, Latara caters to racers who demand the best. Visit latara.se or stop by our shop and track for the ultimate RC experience. Latara Racing, built for winners. So yeah, Latara Racing been good friends with us. We greatly appreciate them being on with them again. With us, they did give us some cover. They helped us out to get to the Worlds. We kind of I met Martin and Kim at the Worlds in 2022. We were staying in the same place. We became friends, and I'm super happy to have them on board. They're good friends with Ronna Falk. We're all pretty just good friends. We had a good time with them at the Worlds, and we greatly appreciate their support getting to the Worlds. Also, I told you guys on the last podcast that I'm branching out into something new. I'm doing a whole nother channel with my buddy Alan Placer. I'm doing a Power Wheels modification podcast, YouTube channel, all that stuff. I'm doing some Power Wheels with my daughter. You guys might be thinking, Lefty, what are you talking about? But yes, attention to all of you fathers out there that have young kids and want to get them a Power Wheels. Are you looking to take your Power Wheels to the next level? ML Toys has you covered, specialized in upgrades for Power Wheels and ride-on vehicles. ML Toys offers everything from high-performance motors and gearboxes to custom batteries and lighting kits. Whether you're aiming for more speed, better durability, or just want your ride to stand out, ML Toys has the parts and expertise to make it happen. Upgrade your ride-on game today at mltoys.com. And don't forget, our Power Wheels podcast is dropping in February. So if you want to get into this and see something different, come check it out. It blew my mind when I found out about this stuff. Kind of like how RC blurs most people's minds when they think about this type of stuff. So this is our Latera Racing and ML Toys Vibes of the Week. So lots of big championships this year, Max, and next year. It's a 10 scale world year. And you say have some nitty gritty about what's going on down there in Australia. How did you find out all this information about Australia? And you are in Finland.
I cannot reveal my sources, but sources that I perceive to be rather reliable have told me that, in fact, at the local club in Sydney, there are obviously fast guys from Associated and X-Ray at that club, and as I said, my sources tell me that there's a bit of a B7 hate club going on. Not only in this club, but in general. There's a lot of a B7 hate club, especially the rear end. A lot of people find it a bit tough to work with, the narrow pin within the rear. And I have heard that Associated are actually coming out with a kit to make the sort of a B7.1 where you have the option to run a wider rear pivot. But that's beside this specific point, which is that the local AE guys have actually been running some B6 parts, and a lot of the AE guys have been struggling a bit. And the opposite manufacturer then there would be X-Ray, which is actually, it's a bit funny because the X-Ray tool drive is pretty much a copy of the old AE B6.4, I guess the latest one was. And the word on the street there, according to my sources, is that the X-Ray works better on that surface, at least to these guys who are there. And they have their stuff better tuned out. It works better. The AE guys are feeling like they might have taken even a step back with the B7. And yeah. So this is specifically for low grip surfaces. So
this is not fact truth. This is just the reports coming out of Australia and your sources.
The stuff about the
sure
B7, I said,
they would have something about this.
There have been people unhappy with the narrow rear pivot. That I have heard from all around, not just Australia. But the thing that on the local level, that the X-Ray has been performing better than the Associate themselves, that I heard there. But I have also heard that it's not a complaint that's specific to them, that the B7, especially the rear end, I feel like most people have been fine with the front end. But especially the rear end, I've heard people have issue with the narrow pivot. And that makes total sense. I mean, I'm not surprised at all. I was kind of surprised that they made the very narrow rear end on that car, but sure, they had their own theory. But yeah, from other sources not related to this specific case, I've heard that Associated is coming out with a B7.1 with wider rear pivots, at least option of a wider rear pivot.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what the world is all about, right? Making parts to fix to work for it. And I think there's a lot of hype around this world, even for us, even for me. Like, I'm excited. It's always good to have a world year. It's always great when it's a world year in 8 scale. It's always good when it's a 10 scale. But it's not being looked at like this is just another race. This is like, this might be the last time BC outdoor 10 scale racing on a world stage. Might be. People are super excited about it. You don't hear people complain. You know how like people always complain about it being too far away? You don't really hear, okay, yeah, it's far. Obviously, it's Australia. But you don't hear too much complaints about that. I heard like Rivkin's going on. We was talking about it on the INS. We talk more about the 10 scale worlds in the INS as well. We heard that Rivkin is actually probably going on to the warm-ups as well. And to participate there. So he's taking this seriously. I think Rivkin's doing what he has to do to go get his third world title, or third and fourth if he wants. So we're going to see
You
these
said if
races
he
can get
wants.
done. And
I
get some
think he
practice.
wants.
Huh? If possible, if he can do it, if he wants it bad enough, he can make it. If you want something bad enough, you will it to happen. But obviously, you have to defeat 9 other cars. So a lot of hype going around this Worlds. I'm very excited. Like I've never been to a 10 scale Worlds. I really want to go to this. Like I really want to raise some money and try to go to this, do some NNRC coverage and just be a part of it. Like you can feel like something's going to be special with this. So super excited for that. That's good vibe. E-Buggy Worlds, kind of the lesser of the Worlds. There's another, I think there's a 10 scale or 8 scale Worlds going on this year too for a few other on-road Worlds.
GT
Well,
and,
being as our bread and
GT
butter is
Worlds
off-road.
are happening
We're
this
talking
year.
about off-road. Okay, so two of my favorite classes in on-road. But Worlds, the first ever E-Buggy Worlds being held at Barcelos in Portugal. They'll also have the Nitro Buggy Euros, and they have their big race. Now, I was told that they'll have a new layout for the E-Buggy Worlds. They don't have much time. So they have the Nitro Buggy Worlds 1st of July, like the first weekend of July. And then they have to wrap around, do a whole new track, and get ready for the last week of August. That's when it's going to be. I'm supposed to be going out there. I'm excited. This legitimizes. I think that they should just do E-Buggy and E-Truggy because E-Truggy is a growing class, and you even don't want to admit it, even in Europe. And I think this is good. This kind of legitimizes E-Buggy, and people have been asking for it. And I hope the companies, from the sounds of it, sounds like the companies are sending their guys over there. Will they send a full contingent? I don't know, but somebody's going to want to be the first ever.
I think at least the
E-Buggy World Champion.
Europeans will take this very seriously because they take the. It is, but I mean,
It's a little
I'm saying
easier
that
for them
in Europe
logistically.
in general, the E-Buggy Euros are well, they're not as
E-Buggy's
big as the Nitro Buggy Euros, but like all manufacturers are present at the E-Buggy Euros. I do think I would be really surprised if the Americans are not going to the E-Buggy Worlds. But I know for a fact that all the Europeans are going. And, who knows? Maybe even if the Americans went, we're going to see an all-European main like last time out. But
Jesus, Max, you're just so savage. All European, my God. You just starting your first podcast for 2025, exiling all Americans this weekend. Europeans are better. Now you don't think there's going to be
I'm
an
trying
American
to
in the E-Buggy final? Come
encourage
on,
the
Max.
Americans to prove me wrong. Like you can like the Americans
this guy
can
wrong
take the
and
L,
it's
stay in America, not go to the E-Buggy Worlds, say whatever they want. Or they can say that, hey, we're not that bad after all. Come over, do what they do best, and actually do well. But if you don't try, you're gonna lose either way. So, like,
But I think the majority of them are coming. It sounds like it.
Yeah.
There might be a few that might not come. Like when I say a few top guys, but not, like I'm sure the Mayfield fans, Fullers, Roses, all those guys will be there. Wiggins, those guys will be there. I think it's going to be good. Barcelos is a beautiful, beautiful town. It's quaint. It's very cost effective. The people at E-Buggy Arena are very proud of their track. Figueiredos and the Portuguese Association will make sure that everybody has everything they need. And I'm excited to go back there again in August of this year. But all right, we'll finish up this week's show with this. Not official, but through the grapevine, I'm hearing that Thornhill will be the home of the 2026 World Championships, all 8-scale Nitro World Championships. Now, I think the 3 tracks that were being considered were A-Main, Silver Dollar,
Idaho.
HRCR up in Idaho, I think it is. And and then, of course,
Austin.
Thornhill in Austin, Texas. It's about an hour out. Hutto, Texas. It's the closest fly-in is Austin, which is a main hub. So I swore it on. I thought that. I know a lot of people wanted HRCR to get it. I know Mayfield, a lot of drivers, because HRCR is a beautiful facility. I think logistics is what really kind of deterred people from that. Where it is, apparently I don't know this, but I've heard this from various different sources that it's a little bit expensive up there because it's in a very affluent area where it is. Like apparently the Kardashians go up here to vacation and stuff like that. So hotels are kind of expensive. So I think that was a bit of one of the reasons why it was not picked. With A-Main, I was shocked. I thought they would get in. They're very influential. A-Main hobbies, all that type of stuff. They have a great facility. But no, I think Raw makes decisions, I think. And I think they went with Thornhill. And a roof, like the first time we're going to see a Worlds under a roof, indoors, to an extent, it's open. We're going to have a Nationals there this year. Fucking Rivkin's won both Nationals in the indoor side of this race, when it was indoors. They've had 3 Nationals, one when it was outdoors, 2 when it's indoors. When I heard that this was going to be at Thornhill, the first people I thought of was like Rivkin, Ongaro, and these guys going to be like, Ongaro might go 4. Like, this track is kind of, like loose, not loose, but
Yeah.
we'll see. I'm interested to see how it is at the Nationals, right? But every Nationals that I've never been to this race. The Nationals is a race I want to go to as well. But it looks like it's very. I know this isn't a drifty. It looks like it's got a little fine layer of dust on it. You're able to slide that car in there. You got to kind of, drive with the rear end a little bit, get it in there. And I just think that fits fucking Ongara's style to the utmost. Like, it doesn't look like it changes much. It just gets faster as it goes on. It doesn't really blow out. Like, the way the tracks, it just seems like, well, it's going to be, it could be Ongaro. It could be Rivkin.
I think this is...
It could be Rivkin's chance. It could be anybody's chance.
I think this is
but it seems
exactly like made for Fend. Like, I get it that like he hasn't done well here before when they had the Nationals, but I don't think he was on J Concepts rubber at that point. Definitely wasn't a J Concept rubber at that point. Whereas every time Rivkin's obviously been on J Concept rubber both time he won. I feel like they have worked the best here so far. And Fend wasn't really at that top level at that point, when Rivkin won those Nationals. But I feel like this style of track is exactly what he wants. And additionally, I'm pretty sure the mileage here is quite bad. So people have a tough time with mileage. From if I remember, yeah, lots of wheel spin.
Remember, this is the race that Lutz won Truggy, I think, and then he got DQ'd because his car.
Yeah, I don't think he won, but he was high up. He was in the top 5 or something. Oh, it was a semi. He got DQ'd in his...
He had a position.
What was it then? But he didn't
They don't
win,
have semis.
Sure.
It was. Well, he was. I think it was this.
He was.
I think
DQ'd,
he won, and then
he was out of the win.
DQ'd.
But either way, yeah.
Somebody will let us know. Somebody will let us know in the comments.
Yeah, he got DQ'd then because of how much the tires wore down. Is it gonna be one of those which is gonna be really tight? I think yes. Because this is one of those tracks that's really hard to make difference. When you have a lot of wheel spin, it's really hard to make a big difference to someone else. So you kind of all really packed up, bunched up together. Like you said, Ongaro is going to be good. Rivkin's won here before. Mayfield's always going to be there. And then, yeah, I think, but I do think Fend, like, considering the mileage issues, considering that it's gonna be,
I wouldn't agree.
It's not a huge area. Like, the track is gonna be much smaller than either of the past 2 Worlds tracks. I'd even go probably the smallest track we've had at the Worlds in my memory. Yeah, so that's definitely gonna suit Fend. It's not small,
it's a decent size track.
But it's like,
it's not small by far.
When you compare it to the track in Australia or even Vegas or the Italian track in 2014, like it definitely is the smallest. And then when you look at Redovan, Pattaya or Argentina in Buenos Aires, those tracks were huge, like incredibly big. So it's definitely going to be much more suited to, drivers like Fendt who do really well at AMS. And also, one thing I do want to point out before we go out is this is a kind of a home track for a few of these American guys. I know for a fact that Wiggins goes here almost every other weekend. I know Brandon Rose, he races here all the time.
Brandon Rose.
So,
Well,
like, this is
yeah.
a chance for him to really prove himself. And another point I want to say now before I forget this, and you can comment on Rose after that. I don't know if he lives there anymore, but the coach, Kurt Wenger from Associated, he used to live somewhere
Wenger?
in this area, because I remember when I was running Associated, he went to Thornhill for club racing. And we all know he's semi working for Associated, so he's pretty much the number one guy in lead of design choices, setup choices for their off-road platform, especially the 8-scale off-road platform. So that's going to be a big help for Rivkin going forwards. And considering Associated is going to have a rather slim team in the future, as it seems, well, Rose is there too. So actually, like for him, it's going to be even bigger help. It's going to definitely help Ongaro as well, on top of those two.
Yeah. I forgot about Rose. Wiggins doesn't live in Texas anymore, but he's had a lot of time at this track. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be not as high grip as Redovon, but it's going to be fast. And, it's going to be fairly smooth. If we're, you know what, we'll learn a lot at this Nationals that's coming up. Hopefully I'll be there so I can see it. But yeah, first time ever having a Worlds under a roof. I say go for it, man. We're going to have a guaranteed race. We got to worry about rain, right? That's always a plus. So looking forward to it. Let us know what you guys think in the comments. What do you think about the Worlds possibly going to Thornhill? Like I said, it's not official, but it looks like it's going to be. So very interesting. Very interesting. I know some of the tracks aren't too happy about what happened, but at the end of the day, it's the decision of the governing body where they want to go, and they have to make the best decision for everybody involved. So it is what it is. We'll be there, hopefully, and enjoying some awesome 8-scale Nitro World Championship racing on an American-style indoor smooth track. Not the blown out track that many were hoping out for this year. But who knows? Maybe they'll make it blown out. I doubt it. They don't. I mean, it might get blown out to an extent, but not like DNC or Silver State or anything like that. So interesting stuff. All right, Max. I think that's it. We had a pretty good chat today. Covered some stuff. We probably will not be getting back in studio until I get back from the USA. As you know, I'm headed out to Beast of the East this Monday. This will be coming out after I've left. So I thank you for your time. You have some safe travels getting back home. Let's get prepared and ready for our next podcast. I enjoyed this. I'm going to be doing, when I get back on, we're doing a lot of interviews and stuff like that. We got Will, we got Ty. We're going to be doing some more I'm going to be doing some more lives, now that we have Ty as a producer to help out. So stay tuned for some lefties. Well, lefties off the record and more lefties, simple thoughts and all that good stuff. Max, anything to add before I close out?
No, not really. It was fun being back. We stretched it out to the 3-hour mark. It was fun.
Yep.
We stretched it out.
Pretty much. We haven't recorded since before Christmas, so that's a good one. Good one. You know what? What you guys can do if you want to help out this channel and help us out is to hit that like, sub, notification button on YouTube. Give us a share if you're listening to us on an audio platform. Please give us a review and share our stuff. If you haven't gone over to our socials, go over to our Facebook. Help us grow there. Our Instagram's growing very fast. I don't know what's up with TikTok in America. Is it banned? I don't know. I've been keeping up on things. Okay, so it's back. So you can follow us on TikTok. I haven't put much work into TikTok, but this podcast is available on pretty much all podcast apps, especially on YouTube. Help us get to 7,000. The road to 7,000 is on the way, and then hopefully we can start the road to 10,000 after that. I look forward to seeing everybody at the races, the upcoming races. And yeah, so big shout out to the NNRC squad. Thank you for all your support. Big shout out to the patrons and the YouTube members. You will get early access of this podcast. If you wish to support the podcast financially, you can and be a patron or YouTube member. Links for that in the written description of the podcast. And this podcast is brought to you by J Concepts, High Tech RC, Sidewinder Fuels, Lettera Racing, Invisible Speed, ML Toys, Side Piece Racing, Hot Race Tires, Elite RC Productions, RC Project, Mayako Techno RC, Beach RC, Clinic RC, and RaceCraft USA. And we have a few spots left. If you like what we're doing here, you want to advertise her, let us know. We can even do specific shows. We're working on doing a show all for the new mag break that's coming out next year. He's been very excited. He wants to do a specific product spotlight show on that. So we're working on that as well in the new year. We greatly appreciate your support. Let us know in the comments what you think about this as well. If we got some things wrong, let us know. And join our Discord as well. The discussion's always ongoing on our Discord. There's links for that in the written description of this podcast. From Left to the Great and Max, the assistant professor of everything, we want to say Nitro's the glory. E-Buggy pays the bills. Thank you guys for all the support. Ta-ta for now.